Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ted Jones along with Woody Erdman and Dick Lynch, speaking to you from Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota, midway between Minneapolis and St. Paul, where we're standing by to bring you the play-by-play action of today's National Football League game between the New York Giants and the Minnesota Vikings. The opening kickoff in today's game will be coming up in just a few moments. Here in Bloomington, Minnesota, a capacity crowd of approximately 47,600 is expected to be on hand here momentarily in weather that is cold and windy. Light snow showers are predicted before the afternoon is out. The temperature is 29 degrees. This will be the 8th game of the season for the Giants, who come into today's action with a record of 4 wins and 3 defeats. The Vikings have recorded 1 win, 5 losses, and 1 tie. For a closer look at what we might expect this afternoon, here is the network voice of the New York Giants, Woody Erdman.
Thank you, Ted Jones, and good afternoon, everyone. Here at Metropolitan Stadium this afternoon, we could very well be on the threshold of a rather dramatic confrontation of Fran Tarkenton and the Minnesota Vikings, the players he teamed with for the 6 seasons prior to coming to the New York Giants. Tarkenton returns with a most impressive portfolio. He has 16 touchdown passes in 7 games and has scored 2 touchdowns running. In addition, he has completed 174 passes of 296 attempts and is second only to Johnny Unitas in the National Football League ratings of leading passers. Giant split end Homer Jones is number 2 in scoring with 54 points and leads NFL pass receivers in both scoring and pass receiving yardage. Running back Ernie Coy ranks number 5 in the National Football League in rushing with 416 yards and an average of 4.5 yards per carry. The running blocking combination of Ernie Coy and Tucker Frederickson rates among the very best in professional football today. The Giants' offense is number 1 in the NFL and has scored an average of just under 30 points per game. Minnesota coach Bud Grant has speculated that the New York Giants probably will average a touchdown a quarter today. Thus, the Viking offense must reach a scoring peak for the season in their desire to upset the Giants. The Vikings have not been a high-scoring football team this season, but we should note that the Vikings scored 20 points against Baltimore and 24 against St. Louis. Both clubs, with defense records far better than the Giants have been able to put together so far this season. And so, we repeat, Ted Jones and Dick Lynch, this could very well be a rather dramatic confrontation today. Fran Tarkenton against the Minnesota Vikings, against players he teamed with for 6 years.
Woody will be back with you and Dick Lynch and the play-by-play action in just a few moments. Other games being played in the National Football League this afternoon, and we have some scores to pass along to you. In Dallas, the Cowboys lead Atlanta 14-0 in the second period. That all-important game being played in Baltimore this afternoon, the Green Bay Packers are out in front of the Baltimore Colts 3-0 in the third period. In the fourth quarter, Cleveland 34, Pittsburgh 7. In the third period, Chicago 27, Detroit 13. Washington leads St. Louis 20-14 in the fourth period. It's New Orleans 14, Philadelphia 10 in the third. Ladies and gentlemen, the North Dakota State Band and our national anthem. The North Dakota State Band and Chorus and our national anthem here at Bloomington, Minnesota. Getting on with that scoreboard as we started just a moment ago, Dick Boyce, our statistician, indicates that 3-0 margin, Green Bay over Baltimore in the third period, is on the strength of a 49-yard field goal kicked by Don Chandler. This is an afternoon that could be full of surprises. And right now, while we have an opportunity, we'll check the offensive starting lineups for our two clubs here this afternoon. First for the Minnesota Vikings at left end, Paul Flatley. At left tackle, Grady Alderman. At left guard, Jim Valoni. The Viking center will be Mick Tingelhoff. Right guard, Larry Bowie. Right tackle, Bob Brittenstein. The right end, Marlon McKeever. At halfback, Dave Osborne. The running backs, Bill Brown and Red Phillips. And the starting Minnesota quarterback will be Joe Kapp. For the New York Giants at left end, Homer Jones. Left tackle will be Young. Left guard, Case. The center will be Larson. The right guard, Dess. The right end, Aaron Thomas. The flanker back will be Joe Morrison. The running backs, Tucker Fredrickson and Ernie Coy. And the flanker back, is that correct? Joe Morrison will start this afternoon? Good. And the quarterback is Fran Tarkenton. And Dick, taking a look at the Minnesota record to date, the Vikings upset the Green Bay Packers. They have tied the Baltimore Colts, two of the strongest teams in the league. And then last week, perhaps some sort of an emotional letdown, they were beaten by Atlanta by a slim 1 point, which is not considered to be a power in the league. How would you account for this kind of an up-and-down sort of record as far as the Vikings are concerned?
Well, you're exactly right, Ted. What's happening, the Minnesota Viking team, I think, under the direction of Joe Kapp, he was a Canadian quarterback, and talking to Jim Finks, the general manager before the ball game today, saying that Kapp is just now, he came a week prior to the season, and he's just now getting acclimated to his players, to the personnel on the team, to the offensive system instituted by Coach Bud Grant, and also to the American football, because American football is quite different than Canadian football. The field is longer for one thing. They only have 3 downs in Canadian football. We have 4. And how to pace the game and how to control your attack has got to be completely different in this league than it is up in Canada. So I think it took a while for him to get acclimated to the system instituted by Bud Grant. And it seems, as you pointed out, in the Green Bay game when they upset Green Bay, and the Baltimore Colt game, they came very close to winning that game, but they didn't lose it. They tied. They did have sort of a letdown against Atlanta. And Atlanta, I'd say, has similar problems has the Minnesota Vikings. So it was just an emotional game, as you pointed out, and they were, say, very happy to win it, Atlanta, and they had a fine effort that day, I understand, by Tommy Novus. But it's just a game you have to forget about. It's last week's ball game. They are an improved Minnesota team, quite an improved team, and I think the Giants are aware of it.
Can you run against this ball club, Dick, effectively?
Well, they have a fine football club. Defensively, of course, this Carl Eller, he's an outstanding lineman. He's 6'6" and about 270 pounds, and he's going to be rushing Tarkenton, and he's a real all-pro defensive end. They have Jim Marshall. Of course, Marshall was the one that made that famous, picked up a fumble and ran it back the wrong way, and he got a touchdown for the opposing ball club. Paul Dixon is a tackle, defensive tackle. He has 9 years in the National Football League, and they say he's really having a good year. And at the left tackle, a boy that I was familiar with following Notre Dame football, is Alan Page. And Page came into the Viking camp weighing about, say, 250 pounds, and then he added a few pounds. He's now 275 pounds. And at one time they had hopes, since their linebacking troop, that was Kirby, Warwick, and Winston were hurt. They were thinking of putting Alan Page, who's such a fine athlete, at linebacker. But since he put that weight on, they put him right in there at tackle, and they say he's doing a real fine job.
Well, this will be a real test this afternoon, then, for the blocking-running combination of Fredrickson and Coy.
Well, that's exactly what it is, and it is a blocking and running combination, because I've never seen Tucker look better as far as his blocks. He's just doing a sensational job, and, of course, Ernie does the same for Tucker. They're called the Baby Bulls in the National Football League, and they certainly do a great job, and that's what's going to make it pay off today.
Well, we see that Minnesota has won the toss and is elected to receive. The captain for Minnesota, by the way, on offense, Grady Alderman, the offensive left tackle. The defensive Viking captain is right end Jim Marshall. The Giants will be kicking off to the Vikings. The Giants defending the goal to our right. Teeing up the ball on the inside hash mark of the 40-yard line, of course, Pete Gogolak. Nice to see him back in action. Of course, he kicked a 47-yarder last week against the Cleveland Browns in Yankee Stadium. So it looks like Pete's right back in action. Happy to see him. Game is just about underway. There's the whistle, and here's the play-by-play voice of the Giants Network, Woody Erdman.
It's a low kick that wobbles down to the 7. It's taken on about the 7-yard line and carried up the near side of the field to about the 30-yard line. The tackle made on the 30-yard line by number 64, Andy Gross, 6 feet tall, 230 pounds. So it's 1st and 10 for the Minnesota Vikings on their own 30-yard line. The quarterback for the Vikings, Joe Kapp. The running backs are Dave Osborne and Bill Brown. The ends, Paul Flatley and Marlon McKeever. The flanker back, Jim Phillips. Over the ball at center will be Mike Tingelhoff. They break it, move out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage. On the near side of the field on the flank is Jim Phillips. Kapp calling the signals, takes the snap from center. A short pass over to the far side to Brown. Brown picks up yardage, gets past the 35, up to about the 38-yard line, and he's stopped there by Vince Costello, middle linebacker for the New York Giants.
Right, Woody, and right there, Kapp was trying to show probably the Giant defensive team that prior to the game they were saying he's the running quarterback. He'll just have this ball club right, stay on the ground. Well, the first play of the game, he goes right to the air, so that's going to dispel any facts there.
A short pass to Bill Brown over on the far side. It's an 8-yard pickup, makes it 2nd and 2. There's the snap from center. The hands off to Brown. Brown hits the far side of the line, gets to about the 40-yard line, and he's dropped over on the far side of the field by Bob Lurch-Sema, number 71. 6 feet 6, 250 pounds. It's a first down for the Vikings, I think. Yes, it is. 1st and 10 for the Vikings on their own, make it the 41. 1st and 10, Minnesota on their own 41-yard line. No score in this ball game. The opening minutes of play, 13 minutes and 39 seconds of playing time remaining in the first quarter. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the Vikings. Over the ball at center, Mike Tingelhoff. At the quarterback position, Kapp. He takes the snap from center, hands it off to Osborne. Osborne hits the near side of the line, picks up yardage, gets past the line of scrimmage, past the 40, up to about the 45-yard line, make it the 46-yard line. He's stopped there by Glenn Condren and Bob Lurch-Sema. The right side of the forward wall for the New York Giants. Condren, 6'2", 250 pounds. Lurch-Sema, as we told you, 6'6", 250 pounds. So there's a pickup of 5, makes it 2nd and 5. First period of play, no score. The Vikings and the Giants. The ball on the 46 of the Vikings in the possession of Minnesota. Over on the far side of the field, flanker back, Jim Phillips. There's the snap from center, the handoff to Osborne. Osborne, right through the middle of the line, past the midfield stripe, past the 45, down to the Giants' 43-yard line, where Spider Lockhart makes the tackle. Dave Osborne, number 41, 6 feet tall, 205 pounds, in his 3rd year in the National Football League, a graduate of North Dakota. First down, Minnesota, now in Giants territory on the Giants' 43. 12 minutes and 28 seconds of playing time remaining in the first quarter. No score. Out on the flank on the far side, Jim Phillips. The split end, Paul Flatley on the near side. The running backs are Osborne and Brown. There's the snap from center. He hands the ball off to Brown. Brown flips on the 43, gets up again, gets his footing, gets down to the 40, gets down to about the 39, and he's stopped by Jim Moran, number 74.
Well, they have certainly established the running game right away, Woody, and I think just this past week they put Milt Sunday on injured waivers, and in his place is Jim Baloney, as you pointed out, and right now they're giving him quite a workout. Asking Jim Finks again what he thought of Baloney, he thought they were very, very lucky to have a replacement for him to fill in behind Sunday, and they're very high on him, and he's doing an excellent job right now.
Phillips flanked to the near side. Flatley over on the far side. He's a split end. There's the snap from center to Kapp. Kapp fades, moves into the pocket, steps forward to about the 43. There's a long pass intended downfield, intercepted by Lockhart in the end zone. That'll be a touchback, and it will be the Giants' ball brought out to their own 20-yard line. Spider Lockhart intercepts a pass from Joe Kapp. And so the New York Giants take over. Dick?
He had him covered beautifully, Woody, right down the field. If the ball was thrown short, the Spider was in a position to come right back inside and pick it up. It was thrown long. The Spider had enough move on the ball, enough distance just to pick the ball up right in the end zone. A real fine play by Spider.
The New York Giants are in possession of the football, the ball on their own 20 as they move out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage. Fran Tarkenton is calling the signals. The running backs are Ernie Coy and Tucker Fredrickson. Homer Jones on the near side, Morrison on the far side. The hand off to Fredrickson. Fredrickson hits the middle of the line, picks up about 2 yards, gets to the 22, and he is stopped there by number 88, Alan Page, the rookie from Notre Dame. 6'4", 270 pounds, assisted by right linebacker John Kirby. So there's a pickup of 2, makes it 2nd and 8 for the Giants. 2nd and 8. for the Giants as they move out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage. Joe Morrison flanked out on the near side. Split in. Homer Jones over on the far side. The running backs are Fredrickson and Coy. Calling the signals. Fran Tarkinen. He takes the snap from center. Hands the ball off to Fredrickson. Fredrickson picks up another 2. There's a marker on the play. He's stopped on the 24-yard line. There is a flag on the play over on the far side of the field. It was a pickup of 2 by Tucker Fredrickson into the middle of the line. What a bone-crushing runner that young man is, Dick Lynch.
Right, he is, and they're giving him a chance once again. These straight-ahead handoffs, and what he's doing is reading the blocks and cutting inside. He's going right off the blocks of both Case and Larson, and also here we go. Darrell Dessius in place of Bookie Boland. So it's just straight-ahead stuff right now, Woody, and that's just to get the momentum going.
Well, it looks like the penalty is going to be stepped off against the New York Giants, Dick Lynch, and so they're moving the ball. It's a big one, half the distance to the goal line, placing the ball on the 11-yard line, and so it is now a second and 19 situation, a holding penalty called against the New York Giants. Second and 19 on the Giants' 11-yard line. No score in this game. 10 minutes and 49 seconds of playing time remaining in the first quarter. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage. The New York Giants, Joe Morrison, flanked on the near side. Homer Jones on the far side. Aaron Thomas is the tight end. There's the snap from center to Tarkington. Tarkington gives the ball off to Fredrickson. Fredrickson hits the middle of the line. He is stopped there by Jim Marshall. 6'3", 245 pounds. And I don't think it's possible to mention his name without thinking about that wrong way run of his, Dick.
Right, Woody, but besides that, he is a fine defensive end, and one of the leaders on that on that Viking defensive line. At the same time now, the Giants are going strong to the short side of the field, and you might see something to Homer Jones trying to go man-to-man here.
Homer Jones split wide on the far side. He's moving in now. Fredrickson moving out on a flanker type of offense. Tarkington calling the signals. There's the snap from center to Tarkington. Tarkington fades, steps forward, decides to run with the ball, gets to the 15, goes to the far side of the 20, gets up to the 25, gets to the 30, and he's down on the 32, over on the far side of the field. That's the first down for the Giants. And the ball is on the 32, a run by Fran Tarkington. Places the ball on the 32-yard line. First and 10 Giants.
Well, that time, Woody, you think where Tarkington's help really came in, he noticed that he could outrun Roy Winston, and he just took the ball and headed right towards the sideline and upfield because Winston was the only one stopping him, and he just took off around the outside. He alone knew that he could beat him on speed alone and just took off around there and got that first down, a very, very big first down.
Joe Morrison flanked out on the far side. Homer Jones on the near side. Aaron Thomas, the tight end. There's the snap from center, the give to Ernie Coy. Coy hits the far side of the line, picks up several yards, gets to about the 34-yard line, and he is stopped there by Jim Marshall and Paul Dixon, the right side of the front four for the Minnesota Vikings. So there is a pickup of 2, makes it second and 8, New York Giants. 8 minutes and 59 seconds of playing time remaining in the first quarter. Other scores. In the fourth period, Cleveland 34, Pittsburgh 7. Next week, the Giants play the Bears. They're leading in the third period against Detroit 27-13. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Joe Morrison on the far side. Homer Jones on the near side. There's the snap from center to Tarkington. Tarkington, a pass to Homer Jones. He gets it, a one-handed catch. Past the 50, down to the 40, down to the 30, down to the 20, the 15, the 10, the 5. He is over. Touchdown, Homer Jones. A pass reception from Fran Tarkington. There's that combination, Dick.
A beautiful catch by Homer. A one-hand grab. What do you call it? And also, it was the first time that the Vikings blitz. They had a safety blitz that time. And Tarkington must have picked it up right away because he likes to hit Homer on the blitzing situations. He picked it up. Homer made a spectacular grab. Real cool, a lot of poise. Picked it off one hand. Shamarkin dropped, and he did slip, but it was no catching Homer Jones. We've said that 1,000 times. Another spectacular catch and a touchdown. Homer Jones, once again, on the receiving end.
Good enough for 66 yards, that pass play. Fran Tarkington to Homer Jones. Pete Gogolak. Well, that's good, but did you notice they had a little difficulty down there, Dick? And in the holding of the ball, Tarkington had just a little bit of trouble. Did you watch Gogolak change his pace and then hold just a little bit and then Zowie, a low kick and right over?
That's right. It was a delay. He fumbled the ball, and Pete just held up while he coolly placed the ball down. Tarkington placed the ball down, and he got right to him right away.
And so the score, the New York Giants 7, the Minnesota Vikings nothing. More New York Giants football in just 60 seconds.
Music. How important is it? The Music Educators National Conference asked some prominent Americans to comment. Justice Abe Fortas of the United States Supreme Court.
Musical involvement must begin at an extremely early age and certainly continue through school. The whole sense of rhythm, balance, symmetry that one gets from music has a carryover in the law and in many aspects of life. I myself am an amateur violinist. Music is an indispensable part of my life.
Give young people the opportunity to build a close relationship with music. Support music in your schools. For information, write MENC, Box 1300, Washington, D.C. 20013.
Metropolitan Stadium, Bloomington, Minnesota. Clinton Jones puts the ball on the 7, crosses the midfield stripe, crosses the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10, the 5. He is over. That's a touchdown, Minnesota, on a run back of a kickoff from Pete Vogelak. Clinton Jones took the ball on the near side of the field on the 7th. And so that is a 93-yard run back by Clinton Jones. He picked up blocking along the near side of the field and literally walked the tightrope and raced down the near sideline all the way for the TD. 93 yards.
They've been waiting for him to do that a long time, Woody. He's got the power and the speed to do it, and it was all power from the 30-yard line on in because Vogelak took a shot at him, he missed. One of the other boys took a shot at him, and he missed. And Henry Carr was the last one down there, but he just ran into him with his shoulder and kept going into the end zone. A real fine run.
There's the hold, the kick, the extra point. It is good, and so it's all tied up with 8 minutes and 12 seconds of playing time remaining here at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota. The score, the New York Giants 7 and the Minnesota Vikings 7. More Giant football in just 30 seconds.
You get better medical care if your family doctor knows your entire family as patients. Health problems can have family patterns, and families, as groups, often react differently to different medicines. Establish yourself with a family doctor for birth to old age continuity in yours and your family's health care. And be sure to give your doctor full information when he takes a medical history. Presented in the interest of your family's health by the American Academy of General Practice.
The Giants and the Vikings from Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota. We're off to a wild start. Woody?
Right you are. Fred Cox will kick off from Minnesota in that fast turnaround, and it's all tied up after the Giants scored a 93-yard run back by Minnesota, and it's all tied up 7-7. That kick is taken on the far side of the field by Clarence Childs. He runs up the middle, gets past the 30, past the 35, and he gets up to the 40-yard line over on the far side of the field. There is a marker on the play. Clarence Childs took that ball on about the 4, raced to the 40, and there is a marker on the play. He was downed on the 40-yard line by kickoff man himself, Fred Cox.
Right, Woody, and had Fred Cox not tackled him, he would have seen a complete reverse. It would have been another 7-second play or a 10-second play because this is Child's first time on the punt return, on the kickoff return team. Talking to Alex Webster prior to the game, he said he wanted to see what Clarence could do on the kickoff team. They put him on now. He gets him right back to the in real fine position. And a 15-yard penalty puts the ball on the 45-yard line of the Vikings.
A piling on penalty against the Minnesota Vikings. Puts the ball in Vikings territory on the 45. There's the snap to Tarkinen. A long pass to Homer Jones. He catches it. It's a touchdown. A touchdown. Graham Tarkinen faded back. Looked for Homer Jones. Found him. Threw the pass beautifully. Homer took it and was bobbling the ball. Didn't really have hold of it until he was hit and in the end zone. And as he fell for the touchdown.
Well, Woody, that was pure speed again, and Tarkinen must know a little bit about that secondary. He put Homer between Hackpot and Maccabee and just let him run, and he just outran him, and he threw a perfect pass. Once again, a fine grab by Homer. He's going to fatten his average up today.
There is the hold by Tarkinen of a Gogolak kick, and it is good. Now, that's Jones' second touchdown reception of the afternoon, 2 for 2, good for 111 yards. This guy has got to be one of the fine ends in the making, Dick.
Oh, he's sensational, Woody, and he's doing a great job. Now, he puts the Giants in real fine position. It's up to their defensive ball club now to take a lot of that starch out of the Minnesota Viking ball club. And if they can do it, I think you'll see Tarkenton and the offense in command of this football game. But if Clint Jones gets the ball and goes again, it's going to be just a great scoring day here up in Minneapolis.
Okay, Dick Lynch, and so it's 14-7. The New York Giants out in front of the Minnesota Vikings. 7 minutes and 54 seconds remain of the first period. Giant quarterback Fran Tarkenton has thrown 18 touchdown passes. That is top in the National Football League. And Homer Jones is the top receiver. He went into this ball game second in scoring in the National Football League, and in just about half of the first quarter, he has scored 2 touchdowns. Pass receptions on the receiving end of passes thrown by Fran Tarkenton. What a combination, Fran Tarkenton and Homer Jones. And now Gogolak will kick off for the New York Giants. There is the boot. It's an end-over-ender that is taken over on the far side of the field on the 10. Bob Grimm takes it, gets past the 20, past the 25, and he gets up to the 31-yard line. He is tackled on the 31-yard line by defensive back Henry Carr. And so it is now 1st and 10 for the Minnesota Vikings. They're down by 7. 14-7, the Giants out front. And the ball on the Vikings' 31-yard line. 7 minutes and 40 seconds of playing time remaining in the first quarter. It has been a seesaw affair. 21 points have been scored in just about one half of the first quarter. We have 7 minutes and 28 seconds of playing time remaining in the first period. Minnesota out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage. Over on the far side of the field, split end Paul Flatley. Cap takes the snap from center, a screen pass over to the far side to Bill Brown. Brown picks up blocking, gets past the 35, up to about the 36-yard line. Now that would be a pickup of approximately 4 yards and make it 2nd and 6. He was tackled over there by Wendell Harris and Ken Avery. Harris, the strong safety, Ken Avery, the right linebacker for the New York Giants.
Well, you said there was 21 points scored in the first quarter, half of the first quarter. Those 21 points were scored within a minute of each other. Total points, 21 within 1 minute.
That's an indication of what we may be seeing here this afternoon, Dick. So it is 2nd and 6. There's a snap from center to Cap. Cap is being snowed under back on the 30-yard line. A pass rush put on him with Jim Cabbage, the defensive captain for the New York Giants, spearheading the pass rush. Jim Cabbage assisted by Bob Lerstema. And so there is a loss on the play of about 3 yards, and that will make it 3rd down and 9. 3rd and 9 for the Minnesota Vikings on their own 32.
Well, the Cat's playing against Jim Bridenstine, and he's a new man in the National Football League. In fact, he's filling in for this Doug Davis, who was injured, also put on injured reserve list. And so Cat, this is a new man for Cat as it is for Bridenstine. So we'll see. He might be having a heck of a day himself, Woody.
Jim Phillips flanked out on the near side, Flatley over on the far side. There's the snap from center. Cap takes the handoff. There's a screen pass over to Bill Brown. Bill Brown catches it. He crosses the 45-yard line, and he is forced out of bounds over on the far side of the field, up on the 48-yard line. Ken Avery, Vida Lockhart, and Wendell Harris force him out of bounds over on the far side of the field. So Cap comes up with a big play with a 3rd and 9 situation. He moves the ball to the 48 of the Minnesota Vikings, and it's a 1st down for the Vikings. They're down by 7 points. We have 6 minutes and 5 seconds of playing time remaining in the first quarter. 14-7, the Giants out front. Finals, Cleveland beat Pittsburgh. Chicago beat Detroit. Cleveland 34, Pittsburgh 14. Chicago 27, Detroit 13. Cap is the quarterback. He's calling the signals. Jim Phillips flanked out on the near side. Cap fading. There's a screen pass to the near side to Osborne. Osborne catches it, crosses the 45, and gets up to about the line of scrimmage. He may have lost a yard on the play, and that will make it 2nd and 11. Jim Moran and Clarence Childs team up and throw him for a loss. Osborne thrown for about a 1-yard loss will make it 2nd down and 11 to go, with the ball resting between the 46 and the 47-yard line. We have 5 minutes and 35 seconds of playing time remaining in the first quarter. Fourth period score, Green Bay leads Baltimore 10-6. Out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage, the Minnesota Vikings. Jim Phillips flanked out on the near side, split end. Paul Flatley over on the far side. Cap takes the snap from center. He's being rushed. He can't get the pass away. Now he gets away from one tackler, gets away from another. There is a long pass to Bill Brown, and it is knocked out by Bill Swain. Beautiful, beautiful pass coverage by left linebacker Bill Swain, who was right with him, Dick.
Right, and he had to go down the field about 35 yards, and he stayed with him step for step. And, of course, there was a lot of pressure put on by the defensive line. Cap was like sort of scrambling back there. But Swain stayed right with Phil Brown, and I'm sure he's very happy to knock that football down. Had he caught it, he could have gone into the end zone with it.
The New York Giants, in scoring 14 points, now lead all NFL teams in scoring with 222 points. Jim Lindsay replaces Bill Brown at fullback for the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings move out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage. Over on the far side of the field is Jim Phillips. He's the flanker back. On the near side, Paul Flatley. The tight end is Marlon McKeever. There's the snap from center to Cap. Cap fades. He rolls out, rolls over to the far side. He's being rushed. He gets away from one tackler. There is a long pass, and that pass is incomplete. Intended downfield for Paul Flatley. Incomplete. Marlon McKeever also was there. Bob Lertsema put a pass rush on Joe Cap, and he had to get rid of that football, Dick.
Right, Woody, and I think that's just what he did. It wasn't really an incomplete pass, but he did take it and float away where no Giants were around because the pressure was so great. And you got to give credit to this Giant defensive line. They're really greatly improved this year, and they're putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback.
Now in a punt formation, the Minnesota Vikings. Third period score. Dallas leads Atlanta 21-0. Bobby Walden back in punt formation. There's the snap from center. The boot is to Spiral, and it's a long one. It's called for a fair catch on the 10-yard line by Spider Lockhart. And it is a 43-yard punt. So it will be 1st and 10 for the New York Giants on their own 10-yard line. They're leading 14-7 for those of you who have just joined us. Final score, St. Louis beat Washington 27-21. As we mentioned, Chicago beat Detroit 27-13, and we oppose the Bears next week in Chicago. Baltimore has scored, and they now have helped out into a 3-point lead in scoring, 13-10 in the final quarter. Baltimore 13, Green Bay 10. The Giants out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage. Split on the near side. Homer Jones on the far side. Joe Morrison. Tarkinen hands the ball off to Fredrickson. Fredrickson takes the sweep, cuts in, goes off tackle, gets to about the 15-yard line. That's a pickup of about 5, and will make it 2nd and 5. Jim Marshall and Paul Dixon team up to bring down Tucker Fredrickson after he picks up 5. So it's 2nd and 5 Giants to pick up a 5 by Tucker Fredrickson. 4 minutes and 16 seconds of playing time remaining in the first quarter. 14-7, Giants out front. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Joe Morrison flanks out on the near side. Homer Jones split on the far side. The running backs, Fredrickson and Coy. Tarkenton takes the snap from center. He hands the ball off to Fredrickson. Fredrickson picks up some blocking, but he cannot get past the line of scrimmage. He is met there by a stone wall in the person of Jim Marshall. Tucker Fredrickson hit Jim Marshall, and the irresistible force and the immovable object stopped them at the line of scrimmage, the two of them. No gain, makes it 3rd and 5.
Right now you'll see the Minnesota Vikings go into their best defense that they like to go into a zone. And you'll see Tarkenton, I think, try to get man-to-man coverage on Homer Jones and try to go into the weak side. Let's see what happens, Woody.
It's Shirachman against Homer Jones on the near side. Tarkenton gets away from one tackler. He decides to scramble. He's to the 10, to the 15, to the 20. He's racing to the near side, gets out of bounds on about the 22-yard line. Now that will be enough for a first down. First down. Fran Tarkenton scrambled. Looked for open receivers, couldn't find them, decided to run with the ball, picked up blocking, and picked up the first down. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the New York Giants Radio Network.
This is the Bright Sound in radio. WGY, a General Electric Broadcasting Company station at 810 on your dial in Schenectady, New York.
Metropolitan Stadium, Bloomington, Minnesota. The New York Giants and the Minnesota Vikings, along with Dick Lynch and Ted Jones. This is Woody Erdman. The Giants are in possession of the football, 1st and 10. The ball resting on their own 22-yard line. Tarkenton takes the snap from center, a pass over to the far side of the field to Homer Jones. Incomplete. He was covered by Earsell McPhee. Earsell McPhee, the left cornerback for the Minnesota Vikings in his 3rd season in the National Football League, 6'1", 197 pounds, and he did a good job of staying on top of Homer Jones.
Right, in that particular case, Woody, Tarkenton just wants to go pick up 5, 6, 7 yards, and he tried to hit Earl McPhee. He tried to hit Earl McPhee's zone, realizing that McPhee might be a little nervous covering Homer Jones, because Homer scored on that 60-yard pass. So you got to think he's thinking deep and try to hit him short.
And now we have moved into a situation where we now have 5 defensive backs, and we have reduced the number of linebackers to 2. Tarkin and a pass rush put on him. A pass intended for Homer Jones, incomplete. Ed Sherrockman, Dale Hackbart, Jeff Jordan, Carl Kozolke, and Ursel Mackby moved into that defensive backfield, and the pass rush was put on Fran Tarkinen. He got rid of the football, and Dale Hackbart went up into the air along with Ursel Mackby and knocked down the pass.
Right, Woody, and as Kosulik was coming in there, Tucker Fredrickson met him, a real fine block by Tucker, and prevented Kosulik from catching Fran behind the line. And as Fran always does, on a blitzing situation, he just took the ball and threw it right down the middle, realizing Homer was there. But they had fine coverage.
Joe Morrison flanked to the far side, Homer Jones on the near side. Aaron Thomas is the tight end. Tarkinen fades. There is a long pass over to the far side of the field to Thomas. It's good. It's caught on the 42. Aaron Thomas, a beautiful catch. 2 men were on him, Dick.
Right, and Earl Maxby was the one that made the tackle on Thomas. Now, see, this is just inexperience, Woody. He had a chance that time to go for the football. Instead, he went to try to make the tackle. Now, he had time, of course, it was in his own coverage. He had time to go right for the football. I'm sure his coach is real disappointed he didn't go for the ball in that time. The ball was coming right into his arm. Instead, he just bent down and knocked Aaron Thomas down. It was a fine catch by Aaron because he was hit very hard.
A big play for the New York Giants, and it's 1st and 10 Giants with the ball resting on their own 42-yard line. Over the ball at center is Greg Larson, calling the signal Fran Tarkinen. He hands the ball off to Ernie Coy. Coy finds a big hole, gets across the midfield, strides the 45, down to the 40, down to about the 39-yard line, where he is stopped there by Ursel Mackby. A beautiful run and a beautiful hole available for Ernie Coy to take advantage of, Dick.
Right, and that's exactly what he did. They had the blitz coming on, and that time, instead of throwing the ball, he hit it just where it's vulnerable. The 2 blitzing linebackers were coming from the outside. He hit it right up the middle, and Ernie just kept his legs moving, broke one tackle at the line of scrimmage. I think it was Dixon had a hold of him, and went all the way down through the secondary. It was a fine tackle by Shermakin.
Baltimore beat Green Bay 13-10 and maintains their undefeated record. They've been tied, but undefeated. The ball is handed off to Fredrickson. Fredrickson fumbles the football, recovered by Minnesota. Fumbled the football. It was recovered by Ed Sherrockman. Sherrockman recovered the football on the 42. He started to run down the near sideline with it. However, it was ruled down on the 42-yard line.
Right, Woody.
38, I beg your pardon.
And that was Jim Marshall who actually took him and ripped his hands apart, and the ball dropped down. Good thing Shermakin picked it up. Of course, if Marshall picked it up, he might have gone in the other direction and scored a touchdown for the Giants.
As we said, he'll never live that down, Dick. The ball on the 38. 1st and 10, Minnesota on their own 38-yard line. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the Minnesota Vikings. Jim Phillips flanked on the far side. Paul Flatley split on the near side. There's a snap from center to Cap. Cap hands the ball off to Osborne. Osborne finds the hole. Gets across the 40. Up to about the 47 or 48-yard line. Tackled on the near side of the field by Clarence Childs and Spider Lockhart. And so it's a first down, I believe. If not a first down, very close to it. A beautiful run by Dave Osborne. Dick?
Right, that was a draw play, Woody, and he got through there on fine blocking and into the Giant secondary, and a fine tackle by Clarence Childs. It's a man-to-man situation when you have a man like Osborne running around who can sit and do and move around you. Clarence kept his head up, hit him right in the midsection and tackled him. He took him down on a man-to-man situation. It's a real fine tackle by Clarence.
It is 1st and 10, Minnesota. First down with the ball resting on their own 48-yard line. 14-7, the Giants lead the Vikings. The Vikings have taken possession of the football as a result of a fumble recovered by Ed Sherrockman. On the far side of the field is flanker back Jim Phillips. On the near side, Paul Flatley. Man in motion over the far side. That's Osborne. There's a pitch out to Bill Brown. Brown picks up blocking from Osborne. On a sweep, gets past the midfield stripe. Down to the 45, down to about the 40-yard line. Forced out of bounds over on the far side of the field on about the 43-yard line. Vince Costello forced him out of bounds. You can see that one open up, Dick.
Right, and he had fine blocking. They actually had, when the man in motion went there, he had to use him as a blocker, too. And again, Brown busted a tackle at the line of scrimmage to get down there along the sidelines. Came very close to a first down. It might be one.
They're calling for the sticks. And so they're running over to the far side of the field. Final score, Baltimore beats Green Bay 13-10. Final score, St. Louis beat Washington 27-21. Final score, Cleveland beat Pittsburgh 34-14. And another final, Chicago defeated Detroit 27-13. Other scores, fourth period, Philadelphia trailing New Orleans 31-24. Second quarter, San Francisco leads Los Angeles 7-0.
Right, Woody, and when Cap put this man in motion, you'll also find out at the same time when the Giants shifted, they have to compensate for this man in motion because they're flooding his zone. It puts man-to-man coverage on Clarence Childs, and so he'll have to be watching in that case if it's a passing situation in the future. He'll be covering Flatley man-to-man, and that's quite a tough job. Flatley reminds me an awful lot of Kyle Rote when he certainly is one of the finest receivers that ever played football in the Giant uniform.
It is now 2nd and 1, and the ball was handed off to Bill Brown by Joe Cap, and Brown hit the middle of the line after picking up plenty of yardage for the first down. As a matter of fact, he carried it down to the 35. He was stopped by Bill Swain, assisted by Henry Carr. So it's 1st and 10, Minnesota Vikings on the New York Giants 35-yard line as we end the first quarter. And so that's the end of the first quarter with the score: the New York Giants 14, the Minnesota Vikings 7.
Here's a tip for all Giant fans who are planning a weekend in New York City for any of this season's home games. Lowe's Fabulous View Summit Hotel in the heart of the city is the place to spend your football weekend. You'll have a big town Saturday night at the swinging Gaucho Room with its great food and sophisticated entertainment, and there's never a cover or minimum. Follow that up Sunday with a hearty brunch and an afternoon of exciting Giants brand of professional football for the most exhilarating weekend you've ever had. Best of all, Lowe's Summit Hotel is where the Giants make their home away from home when they're playing in New York. Check the Yellow Pages or your favorite travel agent for reservation information. See you at the Summit, where the football action is. The first quarter has come to an end. The score, New York 14, Minnesota 7, and quickly running down the scoreboard for you now. In the fourth period, Dallas leads Atlanta 28-7. Baltimore beat Green Bay this afternoon 13-10. Cleveland beat Pittsburgh 34-14. In Detroit, the Chicago Bears 27. They beat the Lions to 27-13. In St. Louis, the Cardinals defeated Washington 27-21. In the second period on the West Coast, San Francisco leads Los Angeles 7-0, and Philadelphia and New Orleans played this afternoon. The Saints defeating the Eagles 31-24. Time back in down on the field as the second quarter is about to get underway, and here again is the network voice of the Giants, Woody Erdman.
Out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage, the Minnesota Vikings. Over on the far side of the field is flanker back Jim Phillips. There's the snap from center, the handoff. There's a flag on the play. The ball carried by Osborne. Osborne on a sweep, picking up blocking, gets down to about the 30-yard line. He's stopped there by Clarence Childs. And so that would be a pickup of about 5 yards. However, as we mentioned, there is a marker on the play over on the far side. Dick?
Right, Woody. I think they're talking to Jim Cabbage. It might be a 15-yard penalty there for holding. I don't know exactly what the play is, but it looks like as Phillips came down the block, he was looking to block Wendell Harris. He not only blocked him, but he held him as he was going in to make the tackle, and that's what it is.
And so it's a 15-yard penalty, as Dick Lynch has told you. The ball put back to the midfield stripe. 1st and 10, Minnesota, 1st and 25. Now, as a result of that 15-yard penalty, taking a 1st and 10 situation now to make it 1st and 25 on the midfield stripe in the possession of the Minnesota Vikings. In the second quarter, with Minnesota trailing by 7. They move out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage. Jim Phillips, flanked out on the far side, moved in. His tight end, Paul Flatley. His split end, Paul Flatley. The tight end is Marlon McKeever. He's over on the far side of the field. Calling the signal, Joe Cap. He's the quarterback. There is a marker on the play, and there is a screen pass over to the far side of the field to Dave Osborne. He is upended, literally, over on the far side of the field, down in about the 48-yard line of the Vikings by Bill Swain. However, we had lots of things go wrong on that one, Dick.
Right, I think they were offsides, Woody. Illegal motion on part of the Minnesota Vikings. Just before the snap of the ball, he found the offensive tackle for the Vikings going back in a pass-blocking position, and the referee caught it. So it's a 5-yard penalty. Of course, Jim Cabbage, since they made the tackle at the line of scrimmage, Jim's going to refuse it, which he is doing.
Well, there was another loss on the play, and I think that's a loss of about 2 yards. So they will have lost the down. It will make it 2nd down and about 27 now. The ball is back on the 48-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. There's a fumble down there on the field, and Ken Avery, I believe, recovered that football. It looks like Ken Avery. Ken Avery, the rookie from southern Mississippi. Osborne, as he moved into the line, lost control of the ball, And Avery and Lockhart teamed up on that, and I believe Lockhart, was it Lockhart who got hold of that football, Dick?
I could tell you, Woody, both of them were right on top of the football. It was a fine play by Jim Moran, who knocked the ball out of Brown's hand and out of his hands, and Avery and Lockhart both pounced on it.
And so the New York Giants are now in possession of the football. There's the snap from center, the handoff to Coy. Coy moves around Tarkin and hits the middle of the line, gets to the midfield stripe, and he is stopped at the midfield stripe by the Minnesota Vikings. So there's a pickup of about 3 yards and makes it second down. Make it 2nd and 6. 2nd and 6. The carry by Ernie Coy moves the ball into Vikings territory on the Vikings 49-yard line. 14-7. The New York Giants are leading the Minnesota Vikings. Dallas leads Atlanta 28-7, fourth period. Out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants on the near side on the flank is Joe Morrison. The ball handed off to Coy. Coy tries to snap through that Minnesota Viking line, but he cannot penetrate. Jim Marshall and Paul Dixon bolstered by linebacker John Kirby. No gain on the play. Makes it 3rd down rather, and about 5. Give him a pickup of less than a yard. Right. So it's 3rd and 5. Dick?
Right, Woody, and I'm sure now the Giants, in their game plan, I think they want to try to attack what we call the weak side of the field. Let's see what happens here.
Out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Morrison on the flank on the near side. Homer Jones over on the far side. Jones moves in. There's a short pass over the line to Fredrickson. Fredrickson at the midfield stripe grabs hold of the football, gets down to about the 46, and he is stopped on the 46-yard line by Dale Hackbart. Free safetyman for the Minnesota Vikings.
Right, Woody, and they came right back with that safety blitz that burned them in the first pass to Homer Jones, the first touchdown pass. But they still have confidence in it. They came right in the middle of the line again and put a lot of pressure on Tarkington, but he had the screenplay planned, and it was a fine tackle by Hackbart.
New Orleans beat Philadelphia this afternoon, 31-24. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Punt formation. Ernie Coy back to do the punting. Bob Grimm and Ed Schirachman are deep for Minnesota. There is the punt. It's taken on the near side by Schirachman. Schirachman is stopped on about the 14-yard line. He took it on the 12, was able to pick up a couple of yards, and was really brought down hard on the 14-yard line. So it is now 1st and 10, Minnesota on their own 14. Ed Wazakowski on the punting team came down to pull him down. A pickup of 2 after the ball was taken by Ed Schirachman on the 12. There's a timeout on the field. And so there's a timeout here at Metropolitan Stadium, Bloomington, Minnesota, with a score of the New York Giants 14 and the Minnesota Vikings 7.
Does your heating oil dealer really care how much heat per gallon your furnace is giving you? Or is he just fueling you? Agway cares. When you call Agway for heating fuel, ask for a furnace test. An Agway heating man will make sure you're getting the most heat possible from every gallon of fuel. That's why Agway brings down the cost of winter for 9 out of 10 new customers. For many, down as much as 20%. For some, even more. An Agway heating man will test your furnace at no charge. Let him show you how much more heat per gallon your furnace can deliver. He'll show you what's needed and the best way to do it. Remember, he brings down the cost of winter for 9 out of 10 new customers. You be one of them. Call Agway Petroleum Service now in the yellow pages under Oils, Fuel.
And remember, with Agway Automatic Heating Oil Delivery Service, you get 100 gallons free if you ever run out.
Bloomington, Minnesota, the New York Giants and the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings in possession with the ball resting on their own 14-yard line. There's the snap to Cap. Cap hands the ball off to Osborne. Osborne cannot get through. He's being pulled down at about the line of scrimmage. There may have been a loss on the play. Jim Catkavage stopped him. Dave Osborne tried to find a hole. There was no hole. He then decided on his second effort to go around the far side of the line. Catkavage stopped him behind the line of scrimmage.
Right, Woody, and the reason there was no hole there was this rookie linebacker we're hearing so much about, and he's improving with every game. That's Ken Avery. As Avery met both the halfback and the tackle as he pulled out and just smashed the play, and Osborne had no place to run. He had to turn around and run the other way, and Cat was waiting for him.
Okay, Dick Lynch. Jim Phillips flanked on the near side. Paul Flatley slid on the far side. There's the handoff to Brown by Cap. Cap on the handoff to Brown. Brown moves toward the far side of the line. He picks up a few yards and has gotten possibly to the 17-yard line as they unfold. So that would be a pickup of about 4 and take them 3 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. We'll make it 3rd down and 7. 3rd and 7, Minnesota Vikings with the ball resting on their own 17-yard line. 11 minutes and 23 seconds of playing time remaining in the first half of this football game. The Giants are out front, 14-7. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the Minnesota Vikings. Calling the signals, Joe Kapp. He's a rookie. There's the snap from center, the handoff to Osborne. Osborne moves around the quarterback, hits the middle of the line, gets past the 20, and he is dropped on the 23-yard line by Spider Lockhart and Vince Costello. Now, that will not be enough for a first down. It's a first down.
Just enough, Woody. Just over the line of scrimmage. I mean, just over the marker there, so the referee had no choice but to call it a first down. It was a fine effort by Osborne, running, pumping, using his arms and his legs, and he just made it.
And so, in a key play, the Minnesota Vikings pick up a first down. It was 3rd and 7. And so they pick up the 7 yards for the first down. There's the snap from center, the handoff to Brown. Brown moves into the line, can't find a hole, decides to dance his way to the near side. He may have picked up another yard. Bill Brown, a 7-year veteran, stopped by Ken Avery and Bob Lertzema. So there's a gain there of about 3 yards. We'll make it 2nd and 7. The ball on the 28-yard line. 2nd and 7, Minnesota on their own 28-yard line. They're down by 7 points, 14-7. The New York Giants out front. We have 10 minutes and 7 seconds of playing time remaining in the first half. Paul Flatley split on the near side. Jim Phillips, the flanker back, over on the far side. Marlon McKeever is the tight end. The running backs are Osborne and Brown. There's the snap from center to Kapp. Kapp gives the ball off to Brown. Brown is dropped behind the line of scrimmage, back on about the 26-yard line. Now that will be a loss of about 2 and make it 3rd and 9. Vince Costello pulled him down behind the line of scrimmage, Bill Brown, after he took the handoff from Joe Kapp. So the ball is on the 26-yard line, makes it 3rd and 9.
Right, Woody, and I think now Kapp, he hasn't done it on 3rd down situations. He's gone to the run, but I think now he'll have to go to the pass, and he just might be going to Paul Flatley.
Jim Phillips is flanked out over on the far side. Kapp takes the snap from center. He's down behind the line of scrimmage. He lost his footing as he faded, and he looked over to the far side of the field. Could not find an open receiver. His feet actually slid out from under him, and he was down on the 20-yard line. A rush put on him by Vince Costello.
And by Bill Swain. And had he not fallen down to the turf, Woody, he'd have been hit very hard by Bill Swain because he was wide open coming in there, and they just didn't pick it up. And that's the first time that the Giants split, and it was successful.
Bobby Walton in to do the punting for the Minnesota Vikings. There's the snap from center. It's a slow snap. It's a low punt, and it bounds on the 46, rolls to the 30. Lockhart takes it, dances, and is dropped on the 28-yard line. Hit hard on the 28-yard line.
Now, there's a crowd reaction, Woody. He did fumble the football, but the play was ruled dead as the man made the tackle, and it was a legitimate call, not sticking up for Spider or the referee. The play was down. He was on the ground. He rolled over. The ball rolled out of his hands, but they're not going to get that football.
And so it is now 1st and 10 for the New York Giants on their own 27-yard line. A punt, including the roll, good for 50 yards. Joe Morrison flanked on the near side. Homer Jones over on the far side. The running backs are Fredrickson and Coy. Talking and the snap from center. Homer Jones took that ball over on the far side of the field, and it is incomplete. The ball is on about the 27-yard line. A pass intended for Homer Jones over on the far side of the field, incomplete.
Right, Woody, and there was real fine coverage that time by Schumacher, and he just met him as he was catching the football, and he bopped him just as he was receiving it, and he dropped it.
Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Homer Jones is split on the far side. Joe Morrison on the near side. Tucker Fredrickson is being pursued. He gets away from one tackler, gets away from another. He's scrambling, gets past the 30 to 35, fumbles the football on the 40, and it's recovered on the 40-yard line by Charlie Harper. Fran Tarkenton scrambles, fumbled that football on about the 38. Charlie Harper, very alert, fell on it as the ball bounded on the 40-yard line. 1st and 10, Giants on their own 40-yard line.
Right, Woody, and to give you an idea of the speed of this, Alan Page, who is 6'4" and 270 pounds, he was in there putting a lot of pressure on Tarkenton. As Tarkenton took off and ran with the football, he turned around and ran after him, actually made the tackle, caused the fumble, but Harper was alertly there, and he recovered it.
Homer Jones over on the far side, Joe Morrison on the near side, Tucker Fredrickson and Ernie Coy, the running backs. The ball handed off from Tarkenton to Coy. Coy into the middle of the line, picks up about 4 or 5 yards, and he is stopped on the 45-yard line by Jim Marshall, the right side of that front 4, the right defensive end for the Minnesota Vikings. Makes it 2nd and 5. 2nd and 5 Giants on their own 45-yard line. 2nd and 5 Giants on their own 45. Out of the huddle to the line of scrimmage, the white uniformed New York Giants. Fran Tarkenton calling the signals. Over on the far side, Homer Jones. The flanker back on the near side, Joe Morrison. Over the ball at center, Greg Larson. He takes the snap from center, takes the hand off to Fredrickson, pitches to Coy. Coy fumbles, and the ball is fallen on by Morrison. And it's a first down. Well, there is a marker on the play. Pete Case was in on that play. I believe it was Pete Case who recovered the fumble. There is a penalty called against the Minnesota Vikings. Things are happening fast down there, Dick.
Right, Woody. Actually, when the ball's around, and the ball is being fumbled out here today, reminds me of last week's game against the Cleveland Browns. The ball is on the ground a lot more than it is the hands right now. But the ball is floating around like that. They're making dives for it, and they're trying to push bodies out of the way. That time, the referee said the ball was recovered by Case, but the Viking who fell on top of him was about 4 seconds too late, so they gave him a 15-yard penalty, and now puts them in the hole.
Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Morrison on the far side, Homer Jones on their side. A short pass to Tucker Fredrickson. Fredrickson gets it on the 26 and is forced out of bounds on the 26-yard line by Roy Winston, who is the left linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings. Number 60, Winston, 5'11", 231 pounds, in his 6th season in the National Football League.
Right, Woody, and why would Tarkenton go against Roy Winston? You have a halfback and a fullback, a type of football player like Tucker Fredrickson, who is good, fast, and swift. He's going against Roy Winston, who's 5'11" and 235 pounds. So he has the maneuverability, and he can get around him, and that's exactly what Tarkenton wanted. A man-to-man situation, get him out in the flat zone, hit him, pick up 5 or 6 yards.
Well, Dick Lynch, we noticed there's a pause in the action here at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota. The score, the New York Giants 14, the Minnesota Vikings 7. More New York Giants football in just 30 seconds. You know,
if you're a college man with a desire to fly, which do you want to be, aviation specialist or leader of men? As a Marine aviator, you will be both, given the time-tested ways of Marine leadership and the finest flight training on Earth. Leadership and flight, they're inseparable for the man who wears the wings of gold of Marine aviation and the bars of the Marine officer.
We're the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor of the United States Marine.
Bloomington, Minnesota. The Giants and the Vikings. 6 minutes, 50 seconds left in this first half. The Giants out in front 14-7. The Giants are on the ball on the Minnesota 26. Here's the network voice of the Giants, Woody Erdman.
Right, Woody, and Ted, thank you. This is Dick Lynch. They are putting a lot of pressure on home, and they're double-teaming him right now. And you might see an opening there for Aaron Thomas across the middle of the field when the safety and the halfback go against them.
There's a pitch out to Ernie Coy from Fran Tarkenton. He gets to about the line of scrimmage, and he is stopped at the line of scrimmage by Carl Eller, who is the left defensive end for the Minnesota Vikings. Eller is a 4-year veteran, 265 pounds. He's 6'6". You run into a man like that, it's easy to see how you stop.
Stop, Woody, and it's very tough to get up out of bed on Monday morning. Believe me, you don't feel it right then, but you do feel it on Monday morning.
3rd and 5, Dick Lynch. 3rd and 5 for the New York Giants on the Minnesota Vikings 26. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Calling the signals, Fran Tarkenton, Morrison on the far side, Jones on the near side. A pass batted by Carl Eller, that 6'6" man about whom we were just talking, who reached his hand into the air and batted that football. And so it will be 4th and 5 with the ball resting on the Giants 26. Enter Pete Gogolak.
Like he did last week, Woody, this is a lot shorter kick. But let's take last week's ball game. I was really thrilled for Pete Gogolak with all his back problems, his problem that he's had in the Army, to come in here and kick such an important field goal last week, and I'm certainly sure he was thrilled with it.
The ball will be held on the 33-yard line by Fran Tarkenton. There's the snap from center, and the boot. It's up. It's an end-over-ender, and it is good. So the score is 17 for the New York Giants, 7 for the Minnesota Vikings. More New York Giants football in just 60 seconds.
Come on aboard Mohawk Chevy in Schenectady.
Mohawk Chevy has got 67s. 67 Chevys for you. Mohawk 67s will save you mostly money, too. What to do? Drive the car you drive aboard Mohawk Chevy. Get the groovy deal that's waiting for you. The top trade-in and low payments on a new 67 below cost for you. Mohawk Chevy's got 67s. 67 Chevys for you. Mohawk 67s will save you mostly money, too. What to do? Drive the car you drive aboard Mohawk Chevy. Get the groovy deal that's waiting for you. The top trade-in and low payments on a new 67 below cost for you. Come on aboard Mohawk Chevy, 740 State Street in Schenectady.
Metropolitan Stadium, Bloomington, Minnesota. Clinton Jones took the kickoff. He took it on about the 8-yard line, carried it over to the far side of the field, and carried it out to the 28-yard line where he was tackled by Ed Wasikowski of the New York Giants. So it is 1st and 10 for the Vikings on their own 28-yard line. They move out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage. Number 82, Jim Phillips, flanked out on the near side. The split end is Paul Flatley. There's the snap to Cap. Cap hands off to Bill Brown. Brown is stopped at about the line of scrimmage. He may even have lost the yard on the play. And so if he has, it will be 2nd down and about 11. There's a slight loss on the play. 2nd and 11. The ball is on the 20, make it the 28-yard line.
All right, Woody, and John Beasley now has come in for Marlon McKeever, and they like to use Marlon McKeever on the run, and I understand they like to use Beasley when there's a passing situation, so we might see a little action come his way.
2nd and 11 as the ball is snapped back to Cap. Cap, a short pass over the line, and there is a marker on the play as Henry Carr went for that football, and it was intended for Gene Washington, who replaced Paul Flatley. It was a pass down the middle, and Flatley was on about the 40. Henry Carr went for the football, and in his anxiety, it looks as though there is a penalty that is going to be discussed and stepped off against the New York Giants, Dick.
Right, it's an automatic first down. That's pass interference, Woody. He hit him before he was to receive the football, and that's just illegal.
Washington replaces Flatley. Beasley replaces McKeever. And Jones replaces Dave Osborne. For the Minnesota Vikings, the ball handed off to number 26, Clinton Jones. Jones spins, gets past the 40, up to about the 45-yard line, and he's stopped over on the far side of the field by Ken Avery. So there's a pickup of 5, Dick.
Bud Grant is a very, very smart coach. They haven't used Jones at all this year, and he's been, of course, he was a great football player for Michigan State. By seeing him come back and take this kickoff return back for a touchdown, he's got the momentum going for him. Now he puts him in the backfield, lets him run with the football.
Over the ball at center is Mike Tingleoff for Minnesota. Tingleoff gives it to Cap. Cap hands it off to Jones. Jones hits the far side of the line, gets past the line of scrimmage, gets up to about the midfield stripe, and he is dropped at the midfield stripe by Glenn Condren and Jim Moran. Condren, defensive end. Jim Moran, defensive tackle for the New York Giants, makes it 3rd and 1, Minnesota on the midfield stripe.
Right, and this is Bill Brown territory, Woody, when it's 3rd and 1, and you got a fullback as great as he is, and he is certainly, I think, one of the best football players and one of the best fullbacks in the National Football League. This is the type of ball that he likes to get. Hard yardage, but he thinks he can get it.
There's the snap from center. The ball handed off to Brown as you projected, Dick. He goes over the top of the middle of the line, gets past the line of scrimmage, and forces his way in a bulldozing fullback effort down to about the 47. So it's 1st and 10 Minnesota on the Giants' 47-yard line.
Right, and they do have a fine running attack, but now they have their pass receivers in there. Washington, as you pointed out, at split end, and Beasley at tight end, and you might see him open up a little bit and start throwing the ball to these boys.
Jim Phillips flanked out over on the far side, the split end. Washington on the near side. Cap, a pass over to the far side of the field to Phillips. Phillips gets it on about the 43, and he's forced out of bounds on the 43-yard line. Clarence Childs forces him out of bounds over on the far side of the field. And so there's a pickup of about 4, makes it 2nd and 6. Minnesota with the ball resting on the Giants' 43. 2nd and 6. We have 3 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in the first half of this ball game. Ron Vanderkellen replaces Joe Kapp in the backfield for Minnesota.
And that's
number 84, Washington on the far side. And number 20, is that 27, Bob Grimm has replaced Jim Phillips. He's on the near side. There are markers on the field, Dick.
Right, Woody. A little anxiety. I think Vanderkellen coming in there to the game wanted to get a quick count and get the boys off. As you pointed out, you had to look twice, too, the same I did. It is Bob Grimm, and they have a lot of speed now. Washington, Grimm, and Beasley has your flanker backs, or has your pass receivers. Plus, in the backfield, you got Clint Jones, so you're going to have an awful lot of speed running down on this giant defensive team. And they say Vanderkellen is the passing quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. That's what he'll probably do, get the ball in the air, or at least get him in the field goal position. They have one of the finest kickers in the National Football League in Fred Cox.
Washington, Beasley, Grimm, and Jones, all rookies for the Minnesota Vikings, are all in there now. Number 15, Ron Vanderkellen, fades, looks for receiver, incomplete. That pass intended for Bob Grimm. Grimm, on a down-and-in pattern, was on about the 35, and he was covered there by Spider Lockhart. Bob Lertsema and Jim Moran put a pass rush on Vanderkellen. Incompleted forward pass makes it third down and about 11. Third and 11 for the Minnesota Vikings. 3 minutes and 3 seconds of playing time remaining in the first half, and the Giants are leading 17-7. Fourth period, Dallas leads Atlanta 30-7. Second quarter, San Francisco and Los Angeles all tied up 7-7. Over the ball at center is Mike Tingeloff. The quarterback is Ron Vanderkellen, who understudied Fran Tarkenton when Tarkenton was there. There's a marker on the play. Vanderkellen decides to scramble. He gets past the midfield stripe, past the line of scrimmage, and he is tackled by Bill Swain over on the far side of the field, down on the 45-yard line. As we mentioned, there is a marker on the play, and the marker was thrown on the midfield stripe.
Right, Woody. I think they detected holding on the part of the Minnesota Vikings. If they let the play go there on the 45-yard line where Vanderkellen was brought down, they have enough power in the leg of Cox to reach the field goal. So I think they are going to take the penalty and move it back and get it out of field goal range anyway.
And so the penalty is being stepped off, and it's back now on the 35-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. The penalty against the Vikings, holding. And the ball is back on the 35. It will be 3rd and 28 for the Vikings on their own 35-yard line. We have 2 minutes and 55 seconds of playing time remaining in the first half. The Giants are leading 17-7. Marlon McKeever goes back in the ball game, replacing John Beasley. The quarterback is Ron Vanderkellen. The running backs are Bill Brown and Clinton Jones. The ball is fumbled, and it's fallen upon back on the 25 by Vanderkellen. Vanderkellen lost hold of the football. I believe, actually, he tried to hand it off and then fade and fake a pass. Is that correct, Dick?
That's right, Woody. It might have stayed in the pocket of Bill Brown a little bit too long. The ball did slip out of his hand in the handoff procedure there, and luckily for him, it took a backward bounce, and it fell right. Vanderkellen fell right on it. Had he not done it, Cat Cabbage was right there to accept it, gratefully.
And so now the Minnesota Vikings go into punt formation. Bobby Walden, number 39, in there to do the punting. There's the snap from center. Walden on the 10, takes several steps, boots the ball. It bounds on the 47, rolls back to the 30-yard line, rolls actually to the 29-yard line of the New York Giants. So along with the roll, it's good for 46 yards. And so the New York Giants take over possession of the football with the ball resting, make it the 28-yard line. It's between the 28 and the 29. Make it the 28-yard line. 1st and 10 Giants on their own 28-yard line. We have 2 minutes and 4 seconds of playing time remaining in the first half of the game, and it's 17-7. The New York Giants are out front.
Right, Woody. With 2 minutes to go, there is a timeout on the field. I'd like to just point out on that punting team of the Minnesota Vikings, last week, of course, we saw Ken Avery get in there so gracefully and jump over the block of Nick Petrosani and block it with one hand, and they had a real fine center doing it. They have here now also a real fine center for the Minnesota Vikings, but passing the ball back is Tingelhoff, and he's putting the ball back rather softly, and it's going to enable our boys to get in there, and they came close that time to blocking it. He is rushing this kick, Walden, and he's not getting a lot of distance out of it. He's getting good rolls, but the ball is coming back rather soft. I've never seen it come back softer, and they just might try to go in and block that football. It is coming back high and rather loose back there.
In case you've just joined us, the New York Giants are leading 17-7. Both Giants touchdowns came in the first quarter, and as Dick Lynch mentioned earlier in our broadcast, 3 touchdowns actually were scored within a minute of each other. The Giants scored 2 on passes from Fran Tarkenton to Homer Jones. The total yardage involved in the pass receptions, 111. Gogolak kicked the extra point. Gogolak also, of course, kicked the field goal. The Vikings touchdown was scored as a result of a run back by Clinton Jones of 93 yards. So there you have the scoring picture thus far in the ball game. The Giants now out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage. Tarkenton fakes the handoff, finally pitches the ball to Fredrickson over on the far side. Fredrickson hits the far side of the line, picks up about 4 yards, and he's dropped over on the far side of the field by Lonnie Warwick, the middle linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings. There's a pickup of 3, makes it 2nd and 7. And so the Giants are in possession of the football on the 32, and it is now 2nd and 7. We have 1 minute and 35 seconds of playing time remaining in the first half of this football game. Morrison flanked out over on the far side along with tight end Aaron Thomas. Homer Jones is on the near side. He's the split end. Fredrickson and Coy, the running back. Tarkenton fades. There's a pass intended for Homer Jones. For Joe Morrison, 2 men actually were on Morrison. Ed Shirachman and number 22, Jeff Jordan, in this ball game now at the defensive back for the Minnesota Vikings. Shirachman and Jordan.
Right, I think they realize also, Woody, that Fran doesn't like this territory. He'd like to get him at least within field goal range of Pete Gogolak's toe, and he's just going to try to get the first downs with 1 minute and 18 seconds on the clock, try to get him at least field goal position or down in deep in Minnesota territory. So he's not going to keep the ball on the ground.
3rd and 7, and the Giants are leading 17-7. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Homer Jones split on the far side. Joe Morrison flanked on the near side. There's the snap to Tarkenton. Tarkenton is being rushed, and he is brought down behind the line of scrimmage, literally snowed under by the pass rush of the Minnesota Vikings. Paul Dixon, Alan Page, Carl Eller, they were all in there, and they just swamped him. Jim Marshall moved right over the top of him, and he disappeared, Dick.
Yes, and if they weren't in there, since they are double-teaming Homer, and he's such a dangerous threat, the man that's going to be open, and who was open on that particular play, was Aaron Thomas coming across the field. That's a tough play for the safety. He's man-to-man, but he also has to watch out for the run threat and the fake of the run, and it's man-to-man coverage. So Aaron was open, but the linemen, as you pointed out, were right on top of Tarkenton.
Now punt formation, New York Giants. There's the boot by Ernie Coy, and it's taken by number 27, Bob Grimm. Grimm is stopped as soon as he catches the football on the Vikings' 37-yard line. The tackle made by Bookie Boland. So it is 1st and 10, Minnesota on their own 37-yard line, 41 yards. The yardage involved in that punt by Ernie Coy. So it's 1st and 10 for Minnesota on their own 37-yard line. We have 57 seconds of playing time remaining in the first half of the football game, and the Giants are leading 14-7. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the Minnesota Vikings. There's the snap to Vanderkellen. Vanderkellen fades. There's a short pass intercepted by Spider Lockhart. Lockhart is at the midfield stripe down to the 45-yard line, and he is dropped on the 45-yard line. An intercepted forward pass thrown by Ron Vanderkellen, caught by Spider Lockhart. He loves to get his hands on the football, and so it's a real pleasure to see that happen, Dick.
Right, and he was right there. He didn't crowd the receiver. He stayed behind him as the ball was thrown. It was actually too high for the receiver, and Spider put his big paws on it, and they ran it back. The Giants now are in great field position. They did take a timeout here. They have 2 timeouts left, but they can do it. They can get in there for at least 3 points, Woody.
Next week, the New York Giants travel to Chicago to take on the Chicago Bears, who will be fresh from that victory against the Detroit Lions. It is now 1st and 10 for the New York Giants with the ball resting on the Minnesota 45-yard line. Joe Morrison moves out on the flank on the far side. Homer Jones split on the near side.
And they like to go to Homer Jones or Aaron Thomas in this situation, Woody. Let's see what happens.
They move into that wide-open offense. Tarkenton being rushed, and he's pulled down behind the line of scrimmage back on the 40. As the Minnesota Vikings have a pass rush on Fran Tarkenton, and he is swamped there by Jim Marshall and by Carl Eller. So again, Fran Tarkenton caught behind the line of scrimmage, brought down back on the Giants' 40-yard line. And so that will make it 2nd and 26 for the New York Giants, and they are now back on their own 40-yard line. The line of scrimmage was the 45. And so it is now back in Giants territory on the 40. 2nd and 26. We have 7 seconds of playing time remaining in the first half. 4, 3. Homer Jones over on the far side. Joe Morrison on the near side. There is the sound of the gun ending the first half. And after the completion of 2 periods of play, it is the New York Giants 17, the Minnesota Vikings 7.
The first half has come to an end, as Woody has indicated, as the teams leave the field for the halftime intermission. The score, New York 17, Minnesota 7. Quickly summarizing the scoring for you, New York struck pay dirt first on a 66-yard pass play from Fran Tarkenton to Homer Jones. A drive which started on the 20 was capped in 6 plays, set up by a Lockhart interception. Then on the kickoff, immediately following that touchdown, Flint Jones ran 93 yards right down the sideline. And before you knew it, it was all tied up at 7-7. Childs returned the kickoff following the Minnesota score to the 40-yard line. The Vikings were penalized 15 yards, and on the very first play in the series, Tarkenton hit Jones, a 45-yard scoring play, and the score was 14-7. All of this coming in less than a minute of elapsed time, right around 7 minutes into the ball game. In the second period, Gogolak kicked a 33-yard field goal, and that's where we stand right now. New York out in front, 17-7. We still have another exciting half of football coming up, but if we might just look 1 week ahead, Don, next week, the Giants are in Chicago. And here's a game that carries an awful lot of tradition and rich rivalry to it. The Maras and the Hallis organization, which goes way back to the days when the NFL was a baby and an infant. And here two, for all practical purposes, founders of the league will be knocking heads. And that should be a real exciting afternoon.
I think so. And looking at the scoreboard today, it looks like that Chicago, with Gale Sayers back running, has been able to find that scoring touch again against a very good defensive Detroit Lions team. So I think that I certainly don't want to look ahead past this second half, but that will be another tough one. Now, Ted, in our final moments here, Dick Boyce has passed along some unofficial stats. First downs, Minnesota 8, Giants 9. Passes attempted, the Vikings 6 for 11, the Giants 4 for 9, and of course, 2 of the times Tarkenton did not pass, he scrambled for those big first downs, 19 and 7 yards that were crucial first downs. Minnesota has 63 yards rushing, New York 68 passing, and here's the story, Ted. Only 31 yards for the Vikings, 112 for the Giants. Total yardage 94 Minnesota, 180 Giants. Individual stats, Osborne 5 carries, 34 yards, Brown 8 for 27. Coy 7 for 39, Frederickson 7 carries, 17 yards. Receiving, Brown, of course, a great receiver at the back, has 3 for 29 yards. Aaron Thomas 1 for 20. Of course, Homer Jones 2 catches for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. And right now, that and Pete Gogolak's field goal is a difference, Ted.
The score here at halftime, the New York Giants 17, the Minnesota Vikings 7. We'll have more of today's halftime activity in just 60 seconds.
Say, you have a handkerchief and a cigarette? Well, try this. Blow a stream of smoke through your handkerchief before and after inhaling the smoke from your cigarette. See what happens? The stain on your handkerchief is a substance contained in inhaled cigarette smoke that's known as tobacco tar. It's dangerous because it's deposited in your lungs by the cigarette smoke you inhale. And all too often, the result is chronic bronchitis and emphysema. Emphysema. It impairs the action of your lungs, cripples your breathing apparatus, can often kill. But the risk of being disabled, perhaps dying of emphysema, can be greatly reduced whenever a heavy smoker stops smoking cigarettes. Such a simple solution, such a simple decision. For more information on cigarette smoking and its relationship to emphysema, write the U.S. Public Health Service, Washington, D.C., for your free booklet on emphysema. Could be very important to you.
The teams are back on the field for the second half of today's game. Quickly now, running down the scoreboard. Cleveland defeated Pittsburgh this afternoon 34-14. St. Louis defeated Washington 27-21. The Dallas Cowboys beat the Atlanta Falcons 37-7. Our opponent next week, the Chicago Bears, beat the Detroit Lions 27-13. The Philadelphia Eagles and the New Orleans Saints battled it out in New Orleans this afternoon, and the Saints beat the Eagles 31-24. And in that all-important game in the Western Division, Baltimore came from behind to beat Green Bay 13-10. We're just about set now for the start of the second half. And Dick Lynch, just before that whistle, what adjustments do you expect we might make in the second half?
Well, actually, not too many adjustments, Ted, because the Giant defensive team has contained the Minnesota Vikings. They've limited them to 7 points. 7 points came on a kickoff, so they'll just keep trying to play hard-nosed football and contain this Viking ball club.
There's the whistle, the start of the second half, and here's the network voice of the Giants, Woody Erdman.
It's an end-over-end kick that's taken on the goal line by Clarence Childs. He rushes to the far side of the field, gets up to the 20, is forced out of bounds over on the far side of the field on about the 23-yard line by Carl Kozolki. There is a marker on the play. It will be 1st and 10 for the New York Giants on about the 23. There is a marker on the play, as we mentioned. The Giants are leading 17-7 as we start the third period of play here at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington. A penalty stepped off against the New York Giants moves the ball back to the 11. Clipping called against the New York Giants. And so it's 1st and 10 Giants on their own, the 11-yard line. 17-7. Second period score, Los Angeles 7, San Francisco 7. The Giants out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage. Over on the far side, Homer Jones. On the near side, Joe Morrison. There's the snap to Tarkin and the handoff to Fredrickson. Fredrickson hits the near side of the line. Gets to the line of scrimmage, and he is stopped. He's met there by Lonnie Warwick, the middle linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings. There's a pickup of about a yard, makes it 2nd and 9.
It was a classic tackle, Woody. He met him right in the middle of the line, head up, and popped him right. And Woody, he may have picked up, as you call it, maybe about a half a yard, but it was a tough half a yard.
And so the New York Giants now 2nd and 9 with the ball resting on their own 12-yard line. There's the snap to Tarkin, and Tarkin fades. There's a long pass to Homer Jones. Jones can't get to it. It's incomplete. It was just slightly overthrown and in. Jeff Jordan on Homer Jones as they went down the field, although Homer had his man beat.
Well, it was man-to-man coverage, Woody, and the Minnesota Vikings had the blitz on. That time, Warwick, the middle linebacker, came full steam ahead and almost got Tarkin in behind line of scrimmage. But he just threw that ball deep to Homer on behalf of Jeff Jordan. He took the angle away from Homer Jones, and Homer just could not reach it. It was a smart play by Jeff Jordan.
5 defensive backs are now in there for the Minnesota Vikings. Shirachman, Jordan, Hackbart, Kozolki, and Maxey. The linebackers now just 2, Lonnie Warwick and Roy Winston. Homer Jones on the far side. Joe Morrison flanks to the near side. There's the snap from center. Tarkin and rolls out to the near side. There's a pass complete to Joe Morrison. Morrison was on about the 24-yard line, so it is now a 1st down for the New York Giants. 1st and 10 Giants on their own 24-yard line.
Right, Woody, and that time they ran, it's a special play designed for Tarkin because of his ability to scramble and move with the football. They ran right into the strong side of the zone. Fine block by Aaron Thomas on Jim Marshall. Just stopped his rush, and Tarkington hit Joe on a quick square out. A real fine play, and Joe knew just where the stripe was for the 1st down.
Now Morrison's on the far side, and Homer Jones on the near side. There's a pass intended for Ernie Coy, incomplete. Coy was over on about the 25-yard line, covered by Roy Winston, the left linebacker, assisted by Carl Kozolki, the strong safetyman for Minnesota. So it is now 2nd and 10 Giants on their own 24-yard line. They're leading 17-7. We have 14 minutes of playing time remaining in the 3rd quarter. Other scores in the NFL all complete. 37-7, Dallas beat Atlanta. Baltimore defeated Green Bay 13-10. Cleveland beat Pittsburgh 34-14, and Chicago over Detroit 27-13. Out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage, the Giants. Morrison on the near side, Jones on the far side. Aaron Thomas is the tight end. There's the handoff to Coy. Coy past the 25, stumbles, and as he stumbles, his forward motion takes him to about the 28-yard line. Carl Eller tripped him up. as he crossed the line of scrimmage. So it will be 3rd and 6. 3rd and 6 Giants with the ball resting on their own 28.
Right, Woody, and the Vikings now look like they're going to stay with this type of defense. They have 5 defensive backs in their secondary, and they blitz them occasionally, but they have coverage out here, so they have man-to-man coverage, but with 5 defensive backs.
Morrison on the near side, Jones on the far side. Tarkington, a pass to Joe Morrison. It's complete up on the 42. Urso Maxby covered him as Joe Morrison got that pass on a down-and-in pattern. While we have an opportunity, it's the 1st and 10 Giants. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the New York Giants Radio Network.
This is WGY, a General Electric Broadcasting Company station, Schenectady.
Metropolitan Stadium, Bloomington, Minnesota, the New York Giants. Up at the line of scrimmage, Tarkington calling the signals. There's the snap to Tarkington, the handoff to Coy. Coy, as he goes through the middle, picks up about a yard, gets to the 44, and he's dropped on the 44-yard line by Carl Eller. So there's a pickup of about 2, makes it 2nd and 8. Joe Schaffner going into the ball game for the Giants, Dick.
Right, Woody, and it's quite a tribute to this front 4 for the Vikings. That's Eller, Page, Dixon, and Marshall. They're putting a lot of pressure on them to stop the run, which they are doing quite well. But the secondary, I mean, they're taking away 1 linebacker with 5 defensive backs. So it's a great tribute to this defensive line of the Vikings.
Jones on the far side and Schaffner on the near side. Tarkington scrambling, a long pass downfield. Intended, I believe, for Ernie Coy. Incomplete. Roy Winston was on him. It is now that will make it a 3rd and 8 situation. 3rd and 8 for the Giants. There is a marker on the play back on about the 35-yard line, Dick.
Right, I think it's against the New York Giants. They're talking to the defensive captain for the Minnesota Vikings. That's Warwick. And they are marking it off. It's offensive holding on the New York Giants. So that puts them in quite a hole. It'll be around 3rd down and 25 yards to go for a 1st down.
The crowd comes alive here on this very cold afternoon at Bloomington, Minnesota, midway between the Twin Cities of St. Paul and Minneapolis. The ball back on the 21 makes it 2nd down. 2nd down, and is that correct? 2nd and 33?
That's correct, Woody.
2nd and 33. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Homer Jones on the far side. Del Schaffner. That's Del Schaffner on the far side, and Jones now on the near side. There's a pass to Jones. Jones, as he crosses the 30, gets past the 40, past the midfield stripe, and he is dropped finally on about the 48-yard line. That is almost enough for a 1st down. Now, that pass play was good for about 32 yards. A pass over the line to Homer Jones, and Jones, as he picked it off, got away from several tacklers. It's pretty hard to stop this man when he gets hold of that football, Dick.
Right, Woody, and an excellent call by Fran Tarkington, realizing that they're going to lay off deep on him and try to stop him with the 2nd and 33 yards to go. He hit him right in the crease, what it's called. It's in the crease. Before the halfbacks even have time to move, Homer's cutting across the field. He hit him in the crease, and Homer, on his own power, as you pointed out, fell off 2 blocks. I mean, just knocked over 2 tacklers and got right very close to the 1st down. It'll be 3rd down now and about 3 yards, about a yard to go. Not even a yard, less than a yard. But a real fine play and a good call by Fran Tarkington once again.
As Dick has told you, 3rd and less than a yard. We have 11 minutes and about 40 seconds of playing time remaining in the 3rd quarter. The Giants leading 17-7. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Schaffner on the near side. Homer Jones over on the far side. Coy and Fredrickson are the running backs. Tarkington takes the handoff. Fades, passes Aaron Thomas. Thomas on the 35 gets the pass to 30, the 20, the 15, the 10, the 5. He steps inside, and he takes it over. A touchdown, New York Giants. A pass to Aaron Thomas. Well, Dick, you expected that they would find Aaron Thomas open. It was just a matter of time with the double teaming on Homer Jones.
That's right, Woody. They are double teaming Homer, and Aaron delays, stops, and comes across the field right behind Homer. So he is wide open. That time, though, on his own ability, he got past the tackler Jordan, stepped inside, and went on down into the touchdown. It was a real fine play and a fine call. Tarkington held him at the line of scrimmage by that close run fake. It's 3rd and about half a yard to go. It held the man momentarily. He streaked across the middle of the field, caught the ball, and was all by himself.
A pass from Fran Tarkington to Aaron Thomas. There is the hold by Tarkin and the boot by Gogolak. It's good, and it's 24 for the New York Giants, 7 for the Minnesota Vikings. That's the 19th touchdown pass by Fran Tarkenton thus far in the season. And so the score here at Bloomington, Minnesota, the Giants 24, the Vikings 7. More New York Giants football in just 60 seconds.
Music. How important is it? The Music Educators National Conference asked some prominent Americans to comment. Otto Graham, head coach of the Washington Redskins.
I was born and raised in a musical family. Of course, I was a typical youngster. When my father wanted me to practice, I would much rather go out and play football or baseball. But as I look back, music, I think, has helped me. I think any good athlete has to have rhythm, has to have timing. And, of course, music is rhythm and timing. I think every youngster should study music at one time or another and have an understanding of it.
Give young people the opportunity to build a close relationship with music. Support music in your schools. For information, write the Music Educators National Conference. Write MENC, Box 1300, Washington, D.C. 20013.
Bloomington, Minnesota. There's the kickoff by the New York Giants. It bounds on the 19. It's taken on the 12. Carried by Clinton Jones over to the far side of the field. He gets past the 30 up to about the 31, and it is now 1st and 10 Vikings on their own 31. Ken Avery stopped him over on the far side of the field. The Giants are leading 24-7. Once again, the big play by Fran Tarkenton has made it possible for the New York Giants to score. That's the 19th touchdown pass of the season for Fran Tarkenton. That was a 48-yarder from Tarkenton to Aaron Thomas. 9 plays, 89 yards. The Giants move the ball for the TD. The Vikings are in possession. Joe Kapp is back at quarterback. He takes the ball, hands it off to Osborne. Osborne crosses the 30 up to the 32, and he is dropped on the near side of the field on the 32 by Glenn Condren and Bob Lertsema. So there's a pickup of about a yard, makes it 2nd and 9 Minnesota with the ball resting on their own 32-yard line. The Giants are leading 24-7. We have 10 minutes and 36 seconds of playing time remaining in the third quarter. Ed Wazakowski replaces Ken Avery at right linebacker for the New York Giants. Wazakowski, a rookie from Miami University, 6'1", 225 pounds. Out of the huddle, the Minnesota Vikings over to the far side, Paul Flatley. Calling the signals, Joe Kapp. Jim Phillips is the flanker back. Kapp takes the snap from center. He decides to scramble. Swain pursues him. He gets away from Swain. Gets past the 35, gets up to the 39-yard line. There's a marker on the play over on the far side of the field. Wendell Harris forced Kapp out of bounds over on the far side of the field, up on about the 41, Dick.
Right, Woody. Again, Kapp trying to go getting very close to the first down, trying for the extra yardage. I think the referee might have found it an unnecessary roughness against the Giants. Piling on, it's called. That's what the call is. It's 15 yards from that point on. So it's first down now for the Minnesota Vikings on the New York Giants 44-yard line.
As Dick has told you, 1st and 10 Minnesota on the Giants 44. A penalty stepped off against the New York Giants. A penalty over on the far side of the field. A personal foul against the Giants. So it is now 1st and 10. Vikings on the Giants 44-yard line. 24-7, the Giants are leading. They scored 14 in the first, 3 in the second, and 7 in the third. The Vikings scored their touchdown in the first quarter. Joe Kapp is the quarterback. Takes the snap from center, hands the ball off. It's carried into the middle, down to about the 40-yard line by Dave Osborne. He's stopped there by Bob Lertsema, Jim Moran, and middle linebacker Vince Costello. So there's a pickup of about 4 yards, makes it 2nd and 6 for the Minnesota Vikings on the Giants' 40-yard line. 2nd and 6, Vikings on the Giants' 40. 24-7. The Giants are leading the Vikings. We have 9 minutes and 39 seconds of playing time remaining in the third quarter of the game. On the near side, Paul Flatley, he's the split end. Phillips is the flanker back. He's over on the far side. Calling the signals, Joe Kapp, the quarterback. There's the snap from center. He fakes the handoff, rolls out over to the far side. There's a long pass that is caught over on the far side of the field, out of bounds. Caught out of bounds. Gene Washington. That pass intended for Washington. Washington actually caught it, but he was on the wide white marker over on the far side of the field on about the 10.
Right, Woody, and that was man-to-man coverage. And when you try to go deep on Clarence Childs, I mean, that's got to be quite a feat. And only a man like Washington would try it because he has speed to match. And by that time, Clarence was right with him. The ball was thrown. It was a fake run, and then Cap came around. It was just man-to-man. He covered him very well. He caught the football, but he was out of bounds. A real fine play by Clarence, forcing him out of bounds to catch the football.
Flatley on the near side. Gene Washington over on the far side. There's the snap to Cap. Cap, a pass over the line to number 86. Marlon McKeever, he caught it down on about the 27-yard line. It's a first down, Minnesota. Make it the 26. First and 10, Minnesota on the Giants' 26-yard line. A pass over the line to Marlon McKeever, the tight end, 6 feet tall, 233 pounds in his 7th season in the National Football League. He started at Southern California. Out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage, the Minnesota Vikings. Number 85, Flatley on the near side. Washington on the far side. Cap takes the snap from center. There's a pass over the line again to number 85, Flatley. It's good. Down on about the 17-yard line. And so that is almost enough for a first down. Shy by about a yard. Will make it second down and 1. 8 minutes and 28 seconds of playing time remaining in the third quarter, and the Giants are leading 24-7. The Vikings are threatening. The ball is on the 18 of the New York Giants. It is second and 1. We're in the third period of play. Final score: New Orleans beats Philadelphia 31-24. Washington on the far side. On the near side, number 85, Paul Flatley. Flatley's the flanker back now. Man in motion, Osborne. The ball handed off to Brown. Brown, the middle of the line, gets down to the 15, gets down to the 13. He's dropped on the 13-yard line by Ken Avery, who is back in there at right linebacker for the New York Giants. First and 10, Minnesota, and the ball on the Giants' 13-yard line.
Right, Woody, and they're trying now, of course, when they want the first down, they give the ball to Brown, as we called, and Brown's the one that can get them the yardage. But they are coming around with the sweeps, and this is how Cap's been attacking the Giants. They are sweeping. They do have the potential to throw that pass on the sweep. You might see it here. I don't know if Osborne can throw it, but they have been coming up, making the tackle real well. He just might throw it.
Today's crowd, 44,960. The capacity, 47.6. There's the snap to Cap. Cap fades. He can't pass. He decides to run with the ball, gets to the 10, gets to the 9-yard line, and he is shoved back on the 9-yard line by Bill Swain and Ken Avery. It looked like he was going to throw it. He pulled his arm in very rapidly, Dick, and then saw that he had to run with the ball, took advantage of it, picked up about 3 yards on the play. It will make it second and 7.
Right. Bob Lurtzemer, of course, made him pull the ball up as he was set to throw the football. Lurtzemer jumped up in the air. He just pulled it down with a lot of poise and then ran with the ball. And fine tackle by Bill Swain.
Make it second and 6. Second and 6 for Minnesota with the ball resting on the 9-yard line of the New York Giants. Cap calling the signals for the Minnesota Vikings. He hands that ball to Brown. Brown gets away from one tackler. He dances, works his way out of what would have been a loss, and moves up to the line of scrimmage where he is tackled by Vince Costello and Ken Avery. Vince Costello, the middle linebacker. Avery, the right linebacker for the New York Giants. Will make it third down. There was a slight loss on the play. Third and about 7.
Well, Cap's been around in professional football for 8 years, Woody. The Giant defensive halfbacks now lining up inside to take away the inside pass because they've been hitting them and hurting them on the inside. So with the boys lined up on the inside, you might see them come to the outside on sort of like a square out pattern or some pattern that's going to be on the outside of the field.
The Vikings in possession of the football. There's Cap calling the signal from center. He's fading. He's being rushed. He decides to run. He has plenty of room. He's going to take it in. The 5, he's over. Touchdown, Minnesota. Joe Cap faded. All the receivers were covered, but there was a big gap right down the middle. Cap saw it, and as Dick Lynch has told you, with a great deal of poise, thought, moved the ball in, carried it in for the touchdown. So it's touchdown, Minnesota, and it is now 24-13 as the Vikings will try for the extra point. 44,000 fans here at Bloomington, Minnesota, Metropolitan Stadium, just shy of a capacity crowd, 44,960. There's a snap from center. It's a little bit high. It's pulled down, however, and held by Vanderkellen. The extra point is good, and it is now 24 for the New York Giants, 14 for the Minnesota Vikings. There's a pause in the play here at Bloomington, Minnesota. The score, 24 for the Giants, 14 for the Vikings. More Giants football in just 30 seconds.
This is Alan Funt asking you to smile as you help the needy abroad through CARE. For more than 20 years, CARE has offered Americans an opportunity to make friends abroad by delivering packages of food, tools, and medical aid. CARE packages ease the burden of hunger, illiteracy, and disease. They bring help, hope, happiness to the needy. Export smiles by sending dollars to CARE.
Metropolitan Stadium, Bloomington, Minnesota. We're in the third period of play. The Giants out in front of the Vikings 24-14. Checking the scoreboard quickly now. Dallas beat Atlanta today 37-7. Baltimore beat Green Bay 13-10. Cleveland 34, Pittsburgh 14. Chicago 27, Detroit 13. St. Louis 27, Washington 21. New Orleans 31, Philadelphia 24. And in the third period, Los Angeles and San Francisco are all tied up at 7-7. Just about set for the kick. Here again, the network voice of the Giants, Woody Erdman.
Fred Cox will kick off for the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings move the ball 69 yards in 10 plays, 7 by rushing, 3 by passing. There's the kick. It's a beauty, end over end, taken in the end zone and downed in the end zone by Clarence Childs. So it will be 1st and 10 for the New York Giants on their own 20-yard line.
Right, and that's a real fine play by Clarence Childs. Had he taken the ball out, he juggled it in the end zone, but had he taken it out and got caught on the 5-yard line, Woody, it would have given the Minnesota Vikings a lot of momentum. So he decided to take the 20 yards, which is given if you down the ball in the end zone, and put the Giants in a much better field position.
Joe Morrison is back in the ball game, replacing Del Schaffner. He's flanked out on the near side, and Homer Jones is on the far side. 5 defensive backs in there for Minnesota. The ball handed off to Coy. Coy goes off tackle, finds a hole, gets past the 25, and he is tackled over on the far side of the field, up on the 28-yard line by Lonnie Warwick, the linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings. There's a pickup of 8, makes it 2nd and 2. Ernie Coy put his head down after taking the handoff, hit the far side of the line, and picked up 8. So it's 2nd and 2, Giants on their own 28-yard line.
Right, Woody, they still have 5 halfbacks in there for the Minnesota Vikings, but the Giants' offensive line is really doing a tremendous job of blocking, and they're, of course, making the holes for Coy and Fredrickson.
Morrison flanked on the near side, Jones on the far side. There is the snap to Tarkinen hands it off to Fredrickson. Fredrickson hits the middle of the line, and with his momentum and his tremendous determination, carries his tacklers with him and forges his way past the 35 up to the 36-yard line, where he is finally stopped by Carl Kozlowski and Lonnie Warwick. Kozlowski is the strong safetyman, Warwick the linebacker for Minnesota. So it's 1st and 10 Giants on their own 36-yard line. Third period score, Los Angeles 14, San Francisco 7. 1st and 10 Giants. And the ball is on their own 36-yard line. 4 minutes and 41 seconds of playing time remaining in the third quarter of this football game. Next week, it's the New York Giants and the Chicago Bears. Ted?
Imagine having in your trophy case or in your family room a regulation-sized football bearing the actual autographs of Fran Tarkenton, Aaron Thomas, Del Schaffner, Homer Jones, Jim Katkavich, and the other members of the 1967 New York Giants. This is one of the many prizes we're giving away on our Giants Radio Network broadcast. To be eligible to win an autographed football, an official Giants team picture, or a Giants yearbook, you must be a member of the Honorary Sportscasters Club. Now, to join, just send your name and address, plus the call letters of the station to which you're now listening. Send them to Woody and Dick, care of the Giants Radio Network, Box 10, Ithaca, New York. You'll receive your Honorary Sportscasters card by return mail, and you may be eligible to win one of the many autographed footballs and the other gifts we'll be awarding throughout the season. Remember, there's no cost and no obligation. You don't even have to send in a box top. Just your name and address plus the call letters to the stations you're tuned right now, and mail it to Woody and Dick, care of the Giants Radio Network, Box 10, Ithaca, New York. Get your card in the mail tonight. Woody?
Okay, Ted Jones. Out of the huddle left of the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Homer Jones on the far side, Morrison on the near side. There was a handoff carried right into the middle of the line by Fredrickson, and he was hit and hit hard. Really snapped back as they hit him high. Stopped him right at the line of scrimmage. No gain, makes it 2nd and 10. Alan Page and Carl Eller teamed up to stop Fredrickson at the line of scrimmage.
Well, they got back there just as Tucker Fredrickson was going to carry the football, and Eller almost took the handoff from Tarkenton instead of Tucker. He did meet him in the backfield and smashed him back there. There's a loss of about a half a yard on the play, Woody.
Okay, Dick Lynch. Morrison now flanked out on the near side as they move out of the huddle, and Homer Jones is over on the far side. The tight end is Aaron Thomas. There's the snap to Tarkinen. Tarkinen is being rushed. He steps up, gets away from the would-be tacklers, crosses the 40 as he runs with the football, gets to about the 44-yard line, and he's down there by Lonnie Warwick. Tarkinen faded. He was met by that pass rush. Very wisely stepped forward about 2 steps, saw that he was going to be able to run with the football and pick up some yardage. Did just that, crossed the 40 and carried the ball to the 44. So it's 3rd now and 3. 3rd and 3, Giants on their own 44-yard line. Fran Tarkinen on a carry. Pulled that ball out of what could have been a tremendous loss and picked up yardage.
Right, Woody, and I think 3 yards is awful tough for Simon against this Minnesota Viking defensive line. I think he'll have to fake into the line and put the ball in the air.
Tarkinen calling the signals. The running backs now are Jacobs and Fredrickson. Tarkinen, he is deciding to scramble, and does he scramble? A long pass to Fredrickson. Fredrickson leaps up into the air. He catches the football down on the 40-yard line, and he's down as he catches it. A beautiful catch by Tucker Fredrickson. A pass thrown to him by Fran Tarkinen, and it was thrown softly, but Fredrickson, ever alert, leaped into the air and pulled it down.
Just in front of Jordan, as Jordan thought he was going to intercept the football, Tucker jumped up in front of him. He's quite an athlete, Woody. Whether he's blocking or whether he's carrying the football or whether he's on the passing, receiving end of it, he knows how to react, and that's exactly what he did. He jumped up just an instant before Jordan was going to intercept the football. Quite a great play.
And so it is now 1st and 10 on the Vikings' 39-yard line. Fredrickson on a pass reception brought about the 1st down. There is the handoff to Jacobs. Jacobs hits the middle of the line, gets past the line of scrimmage, carries the ball down to the 35, until there's a pickup of 4, and we'll make it 2nd and 6. There is an injury on the field, over on the far side of the field. That was a handoff to Jacobs, who has replaced Ernie Coy in the backfield. Alan Jacobs, 6'1", 215 pounds. Pete Case is shook up over on the far side of the field. And Sid Moret and Johnny Ziegel and Johnny Johnston are in there to take a look at him, Dick.
Right. Pete is down, and also on the same play, I think Alan Jacobs is hurt, and he's going to the sideline also. I don't know who they're going to have to put in to replace him. I think Ernie was hurt in the previous series, and that's why Alan Jacobs is in there. I think we do have Bill Triplett available, but I see now, Woody, that Ernie Coy has come back on the field. So Ernie just, I figured he was hurt the way he was running out there. He was getting through the line, but just a little bit slow. I think he might have pulled a hamstring or something early in the game. But now he's back in the football game. Alan Jacobs is out getting a little bit of treatment. And also for Pete Case, we'll probably have Bookie Bolin.
That's right. Bookie Bolin makes his appearance here this afternoon, replacing Pete Case. Bill Triplett is coming onto the field, and it could be, Dick, that he is going to replace Tucker Frederick, or Ernie Coy is going to leave the game. It looked for a while as though Tucker were going to leave, but it's just possible that Allie Sherman does not want to take any chance on further injuring Ernie Coy.
Well, we're having musical chairs out there, Woody. Ernie came back in, then Ernie left, and Alan Jacobs came back in. Now Alan Jacobs went out, Ernie came in, Ernie's out, and now Bill Triplett is in there. So, but that's when you have a back like Tucker Fredrickson, he can play halfback or fullback, and that's a great asset to have.
So it's Bill Triplett and Tucker Fredrickson, the running backs. Morrison flanked to the near side. Homer Jones to the far side. That ball given to Fredrickson. Fredrickson hits the stone wall on a second effort after being met at the line of scrimmage. Forges his way past the line of scrimmage, picking up about a yard, and it will make it now 3rd and about 6. 3rd and about 6. Tucker Fredrickson took that ball on a handoff from Tarkinen, hit a stone wall, rebounded, and actually rolled over just a bit and picked up another yard.
Right, Woody. In a case like this, I think Tarkinen has done it before. He liked to go to Joe Morrison working against this Maccabee.
Tarkinen now calling the signals. He fades. There's a pass rush. And a long pass now thrown to Morrison. Incomplete. Tarkinen intended that pass for Joe Morrison. Incomplete. There is a marker on the play over on the far side of the field and a discussion with the official and Homer Jones.
Well, Homer Jones probably figured someone was holding him, and he wants to get the referee's opinion of it. Actually, they are talking to the Viking captain, and it probably is against the New York Giants.
24-14. The New York Giants leading the Minnesota Vikings. The Giants are out front with 1 minute and 20 seconds of the third period remaining. There is a penalty being stepped off against the Giants, taking the ball back to the Giants' 49-yard line.
Right, and in a case like this now, Woody, when you have a man like Joe Morrison and you have Homer Jones and you have Aaron Thomas, again, a play that's been successful that they've used. Sometimes they've tackled targeting behind the line because of the great pass rush of the Vikings, but the men that they like to go to, it's man-to-man coverage, and that's on Aaron Thomas. I think they might try to go for him again.
Both Cleveland and St. Louis have won in the Century Division, and the Giants went into this game all tied up with Cleveland and St. Louis for the division leadership. There is that wide-open offense. Tarkenton looking for receivers. He can't find him, steps up. He laterals the ball over to the far side of the field to Triplett, I believe. Triplett crosses the midfield stripe and then carries over to the far side of the field down to the 49. Now, Tarkenton, in that wide-open offense, looked for receivers, found out that his men were covered, decided to run with the ball, saw himself met at the line of scrimmage, very wisely turned around, latered that ball to Triplett. Triplett then carried it to the 49-yard line.
Right, Woody, and of course, it was an alert play by Fran Tarkenton, but it's also a very dangerous one. He had that play going awry a little bit. The fumble would have been on the 50 and might have been in the hands of the Minnesota Vikings.
And now punt formation. Coy is back. He boosts. He gets the ball away. It was almost blocked, and it's caught over on the far side of the field by number 27, Bob Grimm, and Grimm gets away from one tackler, races to the near side of the field. He's finally dropped on about the 14-yard line, the 13 of the 14-yard line. Bob Grimm, 6 feet tall, 198 pounds, a rookie from Oregon State. And so the Minnesota Vikings now take over possession of the football on their own 13-yard line. We have 21 seconds of playing time remaining in the third quarter, and the Giants are out front 24-14. The Vikings move out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage. Washington on the near side. The flanker back is Flatley. He's over on the far side. Cap takes the ball, hands it off to Osborne. Osborne tries a sweep, and he's stopped after a pickup of about 2 yards by Bill Swain. So there is the end of the third quarter. The score is the New York Giants 24, the Minnesota Vikings 14. And now speaking for Mohawk Airlines, here is Ted Jones.
Now Mohawk Airlines introduces more non-stop jet-powered flights with its new flight schedule. Mohawk is going all out for the comfort and convenience of air travelers. And the new flight schedule holds no exception. An example is the new non-stop jet service from Westchester County to Detroit, or jet non-stop from Syracuse to Pittsburgh, Elmira to Cleveland, or New York to Syracuse. Pick up the new Mohawk Airlines flight schedule and see for yourself. Mohawk has not only added more jet flights, but more ways to serve you. Mohawk stewardesses will greet you in their new Saks Fifth Avenue outfit. Jet Mohawk. See a fashion show on every flight. Mohawk serves 75 cities in 10 states. Mohawk Airlines. Third period has come to an end. The Giants out in front 24-14. The only other game underway in the National Football League this afternoon, all the other games have been completed except in San Francisco, where the Rams lead the 49ers 14-7. Okay, time is back in, and here's Woody Erdman.
Okay, Ted Jones. The Vikings now up to the line of scrimmage. Washington on the far side, Flatley on the near side. The running backs are Osborne and Bill Brown. The quarterback is Joe Capps. He takes the snap from center, gives the ball to Osborne. Osborne gives it to Grimm. Grimm on an end around, gets past the 20, the 25, the 30. He's forced out of bounds over on the far side of the field, up on the 35-yard line by Henry Carr. Bob Grimm, who replaced Jim Phillips as the flanker back, took that ball after it was handed off to Osborne. Osborne giving it to Grimm. Grimm, heading to the far side of the field, went up to about the 35-yard line and picked up more than enough for a first down for the Minnesota Vikings.
Right, well, for Giant fans who watch the Giants and listen to us here on the Giant Network, that's a play very similar to what the Giants have. That's the reverse to Homer Jones, which has been so successful for the Giants this year.
Over the line of scrimmage now, the Minnesota Vikings. Joe Capps has been the quarterback. He's a rookie from California, doing a great job for Minnesota. He fades. He's being met back behind the line of scrimmage on the 32-yard line by Bob Lertsema and Jim Moran. And so there is a sizable loss on the play, and the ball has been placed officially on the 32-yard line. And so it will now be second and about 13. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the New York Giants Radio Network.
Harry Downey reminding you to send your cards in for Upside Downies here on WGY 10 on your dial, Schenectady.
Metropolitan Stadium, Bloomington, Minnesota. Along with Dick Lynch and Ted Jones, this is Woody Erdman. The Vikings are in possession of the football. It is second and 13. There's the snap to Cap. A long pass thrown downfield intended for Bill Brown. Overthrown, incomplete. He was covered by Vince Costello.
Fine coverage by Vince, Woody, man-to-man, and staying with Bill Brown. They faked into the line, and it's his assignment to stay with the fullback, even though he doesn't catch the football, or doesn't get the football at the line of scrimmage. It's sort of a delay pattern to Brown, but he stayed right with him, man-to-man, and Cap had no other choice but to throw the ball away. The coverage was so good.
Dick, it looks like today, if we have seen the Giants' defense come around, we've seen perhaps the most impressive thing is the play by the cornerbacks.
Right, they're doing an excellent job, Woody. It's well noted here because they're coming up and stopping those sweeps, and they're making some fine tackles, and the coverage is excellent today.
Out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage, the Minnesota Vikings. Washington on the far side, Flatley on the near side. Cap takes the snap from center. He throws a long pass. That pass intended for Washington over on the far side of the field, down on the 25. Washington lunged for the football. He could not catch it. Incomplete, covered by Henry Carr.
And he was under a lot of pressure. Bob Lertzimmer really barreled into Joe Cap that time, Woody, and I think he really leveled him low. The ball was thrown very well. Washington just maybe about a half a step away from receiving the football. But a real fine pass rush that enabled the ball to be thrown just off target. It was Lertzimmer's pressure on Cap.
Punt formation, Minnesota Vikings. There comes that soft snap from center, Dick. It's a low punt, and it is taken on the 39-yard line by Spider Lockhart, who, when he reaches for the ball, reached for it low, and as he reached for it, actually down the football on the 39.
Right, Woody. It's a dangerous play, but a fine one, because had he let it bounce, it might have bounced back in towards the 20, but he did catch it. He has real fine hands. The kick was low and short.
Net yardage 29. Dick, we have 13 minutes and 49 seconds of playing time remaining in this football game. The ball is on the 38 in the possession of the New York Giants. They're leading 24-14.
Right, Woody, and speaking about the Giant defensive team, which you brought up just a play ago, I was talking to Holland Savari, prior to this game last night. He really feels now that his boys are beginning to understand what he's trying to accomplish. Now, they go into certain defenses where you just say to yourself, if the man goes inside, let him go. I'm just going to stay outside and wait for this football. And against Cleveland, they had real fine defenses, but the boys just didn't seem to have enough faith in what he's trying to instill. But eventually, I think, and I think it's proven out here today, they're believing in his defense.
24-14 the score here at Bloomington, Minnesota, at Metropolitan Stadium. 24-14. 31-24, New Orleans beats Philadelphia. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Over on the far side is Homer Jones. On the near side, Joe Morrison calling the signals, Fran Tarkenton. The ball on the 38. Tarkenton takes the snap from center, passes to Jones over on the far side of the field, and Jones is stopped as he caught the football on the 45. And there's a pickup there of about 6 yards. We'll make it 2nd and 4.
Right, Woody. It might have been an automatic call by Fran Tarkenton because this is now a new alignment once again by the Minnesota Vikings. They have 4 backs, Shamarkin, Jordan, Kozulki, and Maccabee. And so it's got to be man-to-man coverage or zone coverage. And so instead of having double coverage on Homer, that time it was single coverage. He spotted it, hit Homer right away.
Morrison over on the far side, Jones on the near side. Calling the signals, Fran Tarkenton. Over the ball at center, Greg Larson. There's the snap from center, the handoff to Coy. Coy hits the middle of the line, picks up about a yard, and he is dropped on the 46-yard line by Alan Page and Lonnie Warwick. Alan Page, defensive tackle on the left side of that line, and Lonnie Warwick, the middle linebacker. The Vikings now have all 3 linebackers in. Now back to the system of using 4 defensive backs.
Right, Woody. They do have 4 defensive backs in there, and if they do have double coverage on Homer once again, the man that's going to be dangerous, 2 men that might be dangerous in this particular case, would be Joe Morrison, would be man-to-man coverage, or Aaron Thomas. But I look for Joe Morrison this time.
Jones moved in. Morrison over on the far side. Tarkenton a pass intended for Morrison. Morrison had the ball for a moment and then dropped it. Incompleted forward pass. Morrison was on the 40 of the Minnesota Vikings, incomplete. That will make it 4th down and 2. 4th and about 2. The New York Giants leading 24-14, 12 minutes and 26 seconds of playing time remaining in this contest. 24-14, the Giants scored 14 in the first quarter, 3 in the second, 7 in the third. Minnesota, 7 in the first and 7 in the third. The touchdown in the first quarter, a 93-yard run back. Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the New York Giants. Ernie Coy in punt formation. Back deep, Clinton Jones and Bob Grimm. There is a kick that wobbles, and it is taken on the 23. Number 27, Clinton, Bob Grimm gets away from one tackler, gets away from another, picks up blocking, races down the near sideline, races over to the far side, gets to the 20, to the 15, to the 10, to the 5, and he is pushed out of bounds on the 1-yard line over on the far side of the field. Bob Grimm, number 27, took the punt, raced along the near sideline, and carried it all the way down to about the 2-yard line. A beautiful, beautiful run back by Bob Grimm.
And an awful great block here right at the 40-yard line, freeing Grimm to enable him to go that distance, Woody. Lonnie Warwick really devastated 2 of the Giant linemen. That was a real fine block. But fine effort there by Grimm. Get free, using his speed, using his blockers real well, move the ball down to about the 3-yard line or the 2-yard line.
The ball is on the 2, Dick, so it's first and goal to go on the 2 as the Minnesota Vikings are in possession. Cap takes the snap from center, hands it off to Osborne. Osborne is pulled down behind the line of scrimmage, back in about the 3-yard line by Jim Moran. So there's a loss of a yard on the play.
And that's a dangerous play, Woody. You're down inside, like on the 2-yard line. How did they go around then? If the halfback did, like he came up, Henry Carr came up, put the pressure on Grimm as he was carrying the football. He caught him behind the line of scrimmage that time for a yard loss. I think now they're just going to stay in the middle and give the ball to Brown and let him try to pull his way over.
Out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, the Minnesota Vikings. Bill Brown and Dave Osborne are the running backs. There's the snap from center. The ball given off to Osborne. Osborne hits the near side of the line. He picks up about a yard, and he's dropped on about the 2-yard line. So he's short of the TD. Stopped there by the middle of the forward wall for the New York Giants, Bob Lertsema and Jim Moran. Defensive tackles for the Giants. So the ball is now on the 2. There's a pickup of 1.
Right, and any time that they've really wanted to go on in and try to get that first down, it seems that they've gone to the right-hand side of the Giant defensive team, and that would be to the Vikings' left, and it's been to Brown. And down here, I think no better man to give the football to. He knows how to smell pay dirt, Woody, and he's the one that can put it in there for him.
Phillips replaces Bob Grimm at flanker back for Minnesota. The running backs are Osborne and Brown. Cap is calling the singles at center. He gives the ball to Brown. Brown hits the middle of the line, and I believe he scores. A touchdown, Minnesota. A touchdown, Minnesota, Dick.
Right, Woody. They gave the ball to him. Right, Cap just turned around, gave the ball to Brown, and he just put his head down and went for the distance. He's a fine back. Powerful, strong, and like I say, he probably is today the best fullback in the National Football League.
The Minnesota Vikings have scored with 10 minutes and 36 seconds of playing time remaining in this football game. It is now 24 for the Giants, 24 Minnesota. As the gap narrows, there is the hold, there is the kick, and it is good. So it's 24 for New York, 21 for Minnesota. That's the score here at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington. More New York Giants football in just 60 seconds.
It's just about time for those happy holiday bells to start jingling once again. But here's a question. Will your pockets jingle too with all the cash you need to brighten the season? If so, wonderful. If not, plan ahead for a carefree Christmas next year by opening your 1968 Christmas Club at any Schenectady Trust office now. Choose any of 6 different clubs, ranging from 50 cents to $10 in weekly deposits. Then, according to your choice, you'll have $25, $50, $100, $150, $250, even $500 next November to make the merriest Christmas ever. It's so easy to open your Deck the Halls Christmas Club at Schenectady Trust. Takes only a few moments. And next Christmas, you'll be a really happy Santa.
That's Schenectady Trust. More bank for your money. Member Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation.
Metropolitan Stadium, Bloomington, Minnesota. The Minnesota Vikings are very much back in this football game. They have scored 14 points so far in this period. We are now 24-21. It is now 21 for the Vikings, 24 for the Giants. And so the Vikings in this second half have come back with 14 points and have come now within the possibility of pulling an upset here. A Pete Gogolak field goal has been the difference. There is the ball taken by Clarence Childs on the 5. He gets to the 20, to the 25, moves all the way up to the 28-yard line, and it will be 1st and 10 for the New York Giants on their own 28-yard line. 1st and 10 Giants on their own 28-yard line. Jeff Jordan hit Childs very hard on the 28 and stopped him there. And so it is now 24-21, only 3 points difference in this football game.
Right, Woody, and you might see Targeting now go to his favorite target, and our favorite target, your most exciting play-by-play calling, and that's to Homer Jones. If they have that man-to-man situation, they just might try to open this game up again on a big, long bomb to Homer. It looks like they're going to be double-teaming him once again.
The New York Giants very much wanting this football game to stay in that tie in the Century Division. Tarkenton is being rushed. He scrambles. Gets past the 25, up to the 30, to the 35. He's forced out of bounds over on the far side of the field, up on the 37-yard line. They put a pass rush on Fran Tarkenton. There is a man injured on the play on the 25, Dick.
Right, Woody, and that last time they did have 2 men on Homer, and they sort of stopped him at the line of scrimmage, and Homer was heading towards the Northlands, Woody. He was going down for that touchdown pass, and Tarkenton wanted to hit him. But that play, good rush, but once again by that Minnesota line. They're just fantastic today. But Tarkenton did, in the meantime, on his scrambling, on his running ability, pick up about 9 yards.
So it's 2nd and 1, as Dick Lynch has told you, a pickup of 9 by Fran Tarkenton while he was looking for Homer Jones to get open. Scrambled with the football and picked up 9 yards. The ball handed off to Triplett. Triplett cuts inside, finds a hole, gets past the 40, the 45, bulldogs his way up to the midfield stripe, crosses the midfield stripe, and he's tackled on the 49-yard line in Viking territory. 1st down, Giants. And they are now in Minnesota territory on the Vikings 49.
Great effort that time by Bill Triplett, Woody. As he came to the left side of the defensive line, Ella was waiting for him. He cut back inside, was met by Warwick and Winston, broke their tackles, and raced across the midfield stripe down to the 49, picking up the 1st down. A big 1st down for the Giants.
24-21, the Giants out front. They're in possession of the football in Minnesota territory. 9 minutes and 13 seconds of playing time remaining in the football game. Bill Triplett. It looked like he was attempting a sweep, saw that he was going to be hemmed in, decided to cut, could not get his footing, and he was stopped at about the line of scrimmage. A loss of about a half a yard. We hear from the public address system in the background.
Right, and once again, Woody, they come back anticipating a pass. They're coming back with their 5 defensive backs for the Minnesota Vikings. So Fran Tarkenton will face the Minnesota secondary, which has a lot of speed.
5 defensive backs are back in that football game for Minnesota, aware of what Dick Lynch has just pointed out, that Fran Tarkenton will be looking for his long receivers. Tarkenton calling the signals. Fade. A pass rush being put on him. There's a screen pass. Thrown to Triplett. It's good. Triplett crossed the midfield stripe, gets down to the 48, and he's tackled over on the far side of the field by Gary Larson, who is in that forward wall for the Minnesota Vikings. A 4-year man, 6'5", 255 pounds.
It was a real fine call by Fran Tarkenton. Expecting the pass, he gave him the screen pass. I might add, Woody, just at the last minute, Jim Marshall jumped up and almost intercepted that football, but the ball was thrown very well by Tarkenton over his reach, and Triplett picked it up, but only managed about 2 yards on the play.
A very key moment for the New York Giants. It is 3rd and 8. 3rd and 8 with the ball resting on the Vikings' 48-yard line. Tarkenton takes the snap from center. He throws that ball. It is almost intercepted. The pass intended for Aaron Thomas, almost intercepted. And it is now 4th and 8, and the Giants are forced to punt. Exactly what the Minnesota Vikings were aiming toward. A very alert Minnesota Viking team, very much on the comeback here in the closing minutes of this football game. Just 7 minutes and 40 seconds of playing time remaining in the contest. It's 24-21. The Vikings have scored 14 points in the second half. They were down at one point of this football game, 24-7. It is now 24-21. Ernie Coy back in punt formation. He'll stand on the 40. There is the boot. It's a good one and high, giving the Giants plenty of time to get under the football. They're going to try to down it. Freeman White tried to down that football before it rolled into the end zone. He was not able to do so. It rolled into the end zone, and so it will be brought out to the 20-yard line, and the Vikings will now have control of the football on their own 20-yard line with 7 minutes and 26 seconds of playing time remaining. Plenty of time to score some points, Dick.
Right, Woody. They're in the football game. The crowd is behind them, and whether Cap can take them down the field once again on that great running attack of theirs is something to be seen. They're in this football game, though, that's for sure, and they've got a lot of momentum going for them.
The New York Giants and the Minnesota Vikings, 24-21. There's a pause in the action here at Bloomington, Minnesota. The score 24-21, and we will have more New York Giants football in just 30 seconds.
Hi, this is Lorne Green. The United States has accepted an important role, one that involves the greatest challenge possible. The United States has chosen the role as guardian of the peace and freedom of the world. Now, much of this responsibility belongs to the Navy. It's a role of unparalleled significance. Qualified men are needed to fill the Navy's vitally important jobs. The challenge is great, but the rewards are even greater. Stop by and see your Navy recruiter. You'll find no finer way of serving your country and yourself than as a member of the United States Navy.
Time back in. Here's Woody Erdman.
The Vikings move out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage. Mike Tingeloff is over the ball at center. Joe Cap calling for quiet from the 44,000 fans who are here for this one. The ball handed off to Osborne. Osborne hits the near side of the line, finds the hole, gets past the 25, the 30, the 35, the 40, the midfield stripe. He's down to the 40, to the 30, down to the 25. He's forced out of bounds over on the far side of the field on the New York Giants 24-yard line. Spider Lockhart was the man who forced him out of bounds, or he would have gone all the way.
Right, Woody, and also just a tremendous block by Bob Bridenstine. He's filling in for this Davis, and he's only a first-year man himself, but he blocked down real well on the tackle there, and Moran, and gave him a real fine block and opened the hole up. Of course, Osborne cut back real nice across the field with the pursuit coming against him. He cut right in behind it and enabled him to set up this fine run.
Vikings fans smelling an upset in the making. Joe Cap calling the signals at quarterback. He hands the ball off to Brown. Brown on a sweep. Picks up yardage. Is forced out of bounds over on the far side of the field on the 22-yard line. So there's a pickup of about 2 yards. Makes it 2nd and 8 for the Minnesota Vikings. The ball placed on the New York Giants 22-yard line. We have 7 minutes and 7 seconds of playing time remaining in the contest. The Vikings are down by 3, 24-21. And they are now knocking at the door of the New York Giants. 24-21, 7 minutes and 7 seconds of playing time remaining as the Vikings move out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage. Bob Grimm is in there at the flanker back position, replacing Jim Phillips. The running backs are Osborne and Brown, 2 strong men. The ball given off to Osborne. Osborne picks up blocking. There's a marker on the play. Osborne gets to the 21, and he's dropped on the 21 on the near side of the field. There is a marker on the play, and there will be a discussion down there on the field.
Right, Woody, I don't think there's much of a discussion right here. He is talking to Jim Cabbage, and I think the play is going to be offensive holding against the Minnesota Vikings. They had that play come off the fake reverse that was so successful in this third quarter to Bob Grimm. That time Osborne kept the football instead of giving it away. But now there is a penalty, and that puts them back on the around the 38-yard line. And that certainly comes at a wrong time. I saw Cap just before he was getting out of the huddle telling his boys, hold on to the football, we're going to run this ball, and you could just see him telling it to him. But now this penalty, and that certainly is going to hurt the Minnesota Viking ball club. But they still have the momentum, Woody.
The ball is on the 38-yard line of the New York Giants. The Vikings are in possession. It is 2nd and 27. Joe Cap is calling the signals at quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. He fakes the handoff to Brown, pitches out to Osborne. Osborne picks up blocking, races around the far end. Beautiful blocking by Bill Phillips as Osborne works his way down to the 30-yard line. That'll be a pickup of 8 yards. Vince Costello forced him out of bounds over on the far side of the field. The ball placed officially on the 30-yard line. So it is now 3rd down and about 16 to go. 3rd and 16 for the Minnesota Vikings with the ball on the New York Giants 30-yard line. 6 minutes and 53 seconds of playing time remaining in the contest.
Right,
what a way to end a football game, Dick.
Oh, it's not ended yet. There's 6 minutes, like you said, and 53 seconds to go. And he's got some fine receivers, but he's also done a lot of throwing out of the backfield. He might try to hit one of his halfbacks.
Cap gives the ball off to Osborne. Osborne picking up his blocking, gets to the line of scrimmage and no further as he is stopped at the 30-yard line by the New York Giants. And so it is now 4th and 15. Now they will try for a field goal. Fred Cox is as good as there is in the National Football League, so he will come out and try to tie up this football game.
Well, he couldn't be in better position, Woody. He's on the, it's called, it's a standard shot in professional football. He's in the middle of the field. The goalposts are looking right at him, square in the eye, and all he has to do is kick it through. And if he does, we have a new football game here. It'll be all tied up.
The ball will be held by Vander Killen on the 36. It is kicked, and it is good, and so it's all tied up. Here at Bloomington, Minnesota, at Metropolitan Stadium, the Vikings have tied it up. A field goal by Fred Cox ties up this football game 24-24 with 6 minutes and 15 seconds of playing time remaining in the contest. The score, 24 for the Giants, 24 for the Minnesota Vikings. More New York Giants football in just 60 seconds.
Here's an important tip on your child's dental health from Dr. Paul Starkey, President of the American Society of Dentistry for Children.
Children with protruding upper front teeth are more likely to have them knocked out or fractured while playing or participating in sports than are children whose teeth meet in proper occlusion. If your child is taken to the dental office for examination no later than age 3, the dentist can check the development of the teeth and jaws and may suggest preventive methods. The American Society of Dentistry for Children recommends that all children, especially those with protruding upper front teeth, should wear mouth guards when participating in contact sports. Here again, the dentist should be consulted. Your child's permanent teeth were meant to last a lifetime, and they can if you give them early and regular care.
Metropolitan Stadium, Bloomington, Minnesota. Fred Cox will kick off for the Minnesota Vikings. They have tied it up. The Giants' defense sifted and prevented a touchdown. Now it's kicked off by Minnesota, taken by Mike Fitzgerald, who was picked up from these same Minnesota Vikings, who carries it up to the 17-yard line, and he is dropped hard at the 17 by Jim Hargrove, who is on that kickoff team for the Minnesota Vikings. And so the ball is placed officially on the 15-yard line. 1st and 10 Giants on their own 15-yard line. Fitzgerald took the ball on about the 3, carried it along the near sideline to the 15. So we have 5 minutes and 56 seconds of playing time remaining in this football game as the Giants move out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage. Homer Jones on the far side, Joe Morrison on the near side. The running backs are Fredrickson and Coy. Tarkington calling the signals at center. He hands the ball off. It's carried by Triplett. Triplett up the middle, gets past the 20, the 25, up to the 26. Carl Kazoki tackles him on the 26-yard line. That's a first down for the Giants. It will be 1st and 10 for the Giants on their own 26-yard line.
And Woody, I'm sure Fran recognizes this. Again, they have the 4 defensive backs. They have a regular 4-3 defensive setup against the Giants. And a man, if they double team Homer, a man who's going to figure big in this play is Aaron Thomas. He's got to be covered man to man in this situation.
The New York Giants are now over the line of scrimmage. It is 1st and 10 on the 26. The ball given to Fredrickson. Fredrickson bumps into the forward wall of the Minnesota Vikings. He could not roll off it, even though that's what he intended to do. He picked up about a yard. Will make it 2nd and 9. He was halted there by Alan Page, a member of the forward wall for the Vikings. So it is now 2nd and 9. We have 4 minutes and 49 seconds of playing time remaining in the contest.
Right, and the Vikings now switch defenses once again, where to keep our fans right up pace here. They have 5 defensive backs and a possibility of strong blitz here coming up by the Vikings.
Sherrockman is on Homer Jones. Tarkington is being rushed. He's scrambling. He's rushing to the far side. There's a long pass thrown over to the far side of the field. It is almost intercepted. Jeff Jordan went up into the air. He tried to pull it in away from Homer Jones. It is incomplete. That pass was intended for Homer Jones over on the far side of the field. Incomplete, covered beautifully by Jeff Jordan, the 3-year man from Tulsa.
Right, and their defensive line put the rush on Tarkington. They did not blitz as I anticipated they might. They did it just on the strength of these great 4 defensive linemen, Eller, Page, Dixon, and Marshall. And they put enough pressure on Fran to make him scramble out of there and throw the ball on the run. And Jordan almost intercepted the football.
And so, Dick Lynch, this is an all-important moment for the New York Giants. 4 minutes and 27 seconds of playing time remaining in this contest. Homer Jones is on the near side. Morrison is on the far side. Tarkenton takes the snap from center. He passes long. It's a long one to Aaron Thomas. As Dick Lynch anticipated, there is a marker on the play. An interference call will be made against the Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Thomas, as Dick Lynch expected, with Homer Jones covered as much as he has been, Tarkenton looked for and found Aaron Thomas. Thomas, actually that pass was overthrown, and a pass interference call has been made against the Minnesota Vikings.
Right, Woody. It's double coverage on Homer Jones. He's such a dangerous threat. And Aaron just moved out there real deep. The ball was overthrown. The reason it was overthrown, they did push Aaron. Had they not pushed him, I think he might have got there in time to receive the football. And if he did, he would have been gone. A real fine call by Tarkenton, one we anticipated, as you said.
4 defensive backs now. The situation for the Minnesota Vikings and 3 linebackers. Tarkenton takes the snap from center. He hands the ball off to Triplett. Triplett hits the middle of the line, gets to the midfield stripe. That'll be a pickup of about a yard and make it 2nd and 9. 4 minutes and 10 seconds of playing time remaining in the game, Dick.
Now, Woody, the pressure changes here. The pressure's on the defensive team of the Vikings. Of course, they want to keep it. They want to keep Gogolak with outside of the range of field goal territory, and that's the big thing in the Giants' favor. They do have Pete Gogolak. He can reach the goal line, and he can reach the crossbars. So if they get it in within the inside the 40 or right around the 40, I'm sure they're going to go for it.
Morrison is on the near side. Homer Jones over on the far side. The running backs are Fredrickson and Coy. There's the snap from center to Tarkenton. He's fading. He's scrambling. He gets to the 45. He decides to, and he is pulled down behind the line of scrimmage. He fumbles the ball, and the ball is fallen upon by the New York Giants. Charlie Harper, again, prevented a catastrophe for the New York Giants. Fran Tarkenton scrambling very much under pressure, could not get away. He tried to throw that football, fumbled the football, and it was fallen upon by Charlie Harper. So the ball is back on the 44-yard line of the New York Giants, and it is 3rd and about 13.
Well, now, Fran has something in his favor, I would say. They are worried about Homer Jones, and they've got to be worried about Aaron Thomas. So why not hit Joe Morrison? I think this is the man they're going to look for.
And so the prediction is by Dick Lynch that Joe Morrison is the man that Fran Tarkenton will be looking for. So it is now 3rd and 13 as the Giants move out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage. Morrison is over on the far side, and Homer Jones is on the near side. Aaron Thomas is the tight end. There is a too much time call against the New York Giants. 5 yards stepped off. 2 minutes and 36 seconds of playing time remaining in this contest. This will make it 3rd down and about 18 to go. 3rd and about 18. We're in the 4th period of play for those of you who have just joined us. The Vikings scored 7 in the 3rd quarter, 10 in the final period, and it's all tied up 24-24. The Giants now break out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage. Morrison is flanked on the near side. Homer Jones over on the far side. Aaron Thomas, the tight end. The prediction is by Dick Lynch that Tarkenton will go for Morrison. The ball is given to Tarkenton. Tarkenton, a long pass intended for Morrison. Intercepted. There is a marker on the play. A marker on the play down on the 24-yard line. And a penalty will be called against the Minnesota Vikings, interfering with Joe Morrison. That pass was intended for Joe Morrison, as Dick Lynch predicted, and a pass interference call against the Minnesota Vikings, and the ball will be in the possession of the New York Giants on the Vikings' 23-yard line, very much in field goal position, with 2 minutes and 23 seconds of playing time remaining in the contest.
Well, you got to give it to a pro like Joe. He was there. He was delaying. He's taking his time. It was the same play that they used in Pittsburgh, sort of. Just delaying, taking it easy. He did get behind his man. The pass was underthrown and was picked off very alertly, but there was a penalty on the play because he did rub into him and run into him. Now the Giants are in excellent position. If they keep the ball on the ground, they can try to go for at least a field goal.
The running backs are Triplett and Fredrickson. Homer Jones is split on the near side. Homer Jones flanked out on the far side. Time has been called as this Minnesota crowd comes alive. They do not like the decision that the officials have presented them with here in the closing minutes of this football game. And so time has been called while the crowd is hushed. Tension here at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota. Joe Morrison now flanked over to the far side. Homer Jones on the near side. Aaron Thomas is the tight end. Tarkenton calling the signals. Fredrickson and Triplett are the running backs. Over the ball at center is Greg Larson. There's the snap from center. The handoff. There is a marker on the play. Triplett took the handoff from Tarkenton, and there is a flag on the play. And a discussion. There was no pickup by Triplett, and it looks like there is an offside penalty there, Dick.
Right, it's not offsides against the Giants either. As you know, the crowd is a little bit... They're really going to get vocations now, Woody. I mean, they're going to be nice and loud. It is against the Minnesota Vikings. They sort of anticipated the count, which was not there, and they jumped offside. So this puts the Giants in on around the 19-yard line, what we call a real good field goal position.
Bob Crispino replaces Aaron Thomas at tight end. As the New York Giants move out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage, Joe Morrison is flanked out on the far side, and Homer Jones, the split end, is moved in on the near side. The other end is Bob Crispino. Tarkenton calling the signals. Hands the ball off to Fredrickson. Fredrickson is met at the line of scrimmage. He may have lost a yard on the play. Alan Page stopped him. As a determined Viking defense is trying to prevent the New York Giants from running this football in. 2 minutes and 4 seconds of playing time remaining in the game.
Right, Woody, and what Fran Tarkenton is going to do is just run the football out and keep the time going, keep the clock running. Right now we have a timeout. Of course, there is a 2-minute warning, but just keep the ball on the ground. It'll give them less time to come back if we do anticipate the field goal.
Okay, Dick Lynch, while we have an opportunity, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the New York Giants Radio Network.
Harry Downey reminding you I could call you for Upside Downies here on WGY 810 on your dial, Schenectady.
It's a tie ball game here at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota. The Giants and the Vikings, 24-24, just 2 minutes remaining. The Giants right now in possession, second down, 7 yards to go for a first down. The ball is on the Vikings' 21-yard line. Say, here's how you may win a football during the actual autographs of the 1967 New York Giants. Simply send your name and address plus the call letters of the station to which you're now listening. We'll be giving away footballs autographed with the Giants, official team pictures, the Giants yearbook. We'll be making you an honorary New York Giants Radio Network sportscaster. Send your cards to Dick and Woody, care of the Giants Radio Network, Box 10, Ithaca, New York. Get your card in right away. The address again, Woody and Dick, Giants Radio Network, Box 10, Ithaca, New York. Woody?
Okay, Ted Jones. Well, Dick Lynch, this is an all-important moment for the New York Giants. 24-24, it's all tied up. The Giants are in possession of the football on the Minnesota 20-yard line. 2 minutes of playing time remaining. The ball is called for by Tarkenton. He hands it off to Triplett. Triplett hits the far side of the line. He picks up about a yard on the play, gets to about the 19-yard line, and it is now a 3rd and about 5 situation on the 19-yard line. So it's 3rd and 5 for the New York Giants on the Minnesota 19-yard line.
Right, Woody, and the Minnesota team very wisely took the timeout because Fran wanted to keep the clock moving, and this is a vital timeout for the Vikings. They now have 2 left in the football game with 1 minute and 55 seconds to go. So Tarkenton goes over on the sidelines to talk to Ali Sherman, head coach of the Giants, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him, instead of going for that, keep the ball on the ground, as I know Ali would like him to do. I just wouldn't see him. I'd like to see him, since they're in the middle of the field, in good field goal position, he just might go for that soft, quick pass. It can't be one or the other. It's got to be a quick pass, but enough to go for the first down and keep the ball going and keep the ball in Giants' hands.
Morrison is over on the far side. Homer Jones on the near side. Fran Tarkenton calling the signals for the New York Giants. He takes the snap from center. He hands the ball off. I believe he fumbled the football. He did. That ball has been recovered by the Minnesota Vikings. The New York Giants have fumbled the football, and the Vikings have recovered with 1 minute and 49 seconds of playing time remaining. A rapid turn of events here at Bloomington, Minnesota. And it looked like a sure thing for at least a field goal for the New York Giants. And on the handoff, the ball was bobbled, and the New York Giants have fumbled, and the Minnesota Vikings have recovered.
Don't forget, Woody, though, the Vikings knew it, and they were going after that football. They caused the fumble themselves.
Cap takes the snap from center. He hands the ball off, and it's carried by Bill Brown into the middle of the line. We have 1 minute and 25 seconds of playing time remaining in the contest. 24-24. It's all tied up. The Giants and the Vikings. Only on one previous occasion have the Vikings scored as many as 24 points. Against the St. Louis Cardinals, there's the snap to Cap. A short pass, a screen pass that we expected. Finally completed now from Cap to Osborne. Osborne on taking it, carries the ball out of bounds on the near side of the field on the Vikings' 23-yard line. Right. So we have 1 minute and 3 seconds, Dick.
Right, Woody. And now for our fans, for our listeners, the Vikings are in a very, very tough position. They have to get the first down because I don't think they're going to go for it with down in this territory. If they go for the fourth down, it's third down now, and say they don't make it, they have to go for the first down. They have to get at least 7 yards. If they don't make it, they're going to have to be forced to punt.
The Minnesota Vikings up out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage. Bob Grimm is the flanker back. He's over on the far side. Washington is a split on the near side. There is a screen pass to Osborne. Osborne gets to the 25, to the 30, to the 35-yard line, and he picks up the first down. An all-important first down. Ken Avery made the tackle. And so, Henry Carr on that pass play is injured. He's down on about the 43. It's a first down situation for the Minnesota Vikings. We have 51 seconds of playing time remaining in this contest.
And the Vikings, unbeknownst to them that Henry Carr was hurting on the field, because he will be unable to go any further in this football game. They took the timeout before they noticed Henry's injury, so now they have one timeout left, and they have to go about 65 yards for a touchdown, or if they at least try to get in field goal position. And like we've said before many times, this Fred Cox can kick them from anywhere on the field, Woody. He's one of the finest field goal kickers in professional football, and he can reach the distance. If they get around the 50, around the 45, they're certainly going to go for that field goal.
Mike Fitzgerald replaces Henry Carr in the defensive lineup for the New York Giants. Mike Fitzgerald will be the right cornerback for the New York Giants, replacing Henry Carr. And so the Minnesota Vikings, with 51 seconds of playing time remaining, have a 1st and 10 situation. Joe Kapp is the quarterback for Minnesota. Washington, the split end, moved in. Bob Grimm is the flanker back. He's over on the far side, wide. There's the snap to Joe Kapp. He fades. He's being rushed. There's a short pass completed to Washington. Washington takes it on the 50, carries it to the 40, to the 30, to the 20, to the 15. He's forced out of bounds over on the far side of the field on the 10-yard line. A pass from Joe Kapp to Washington, to Gene Washington, complete, with Washington heading from the near side of the field over to the far side, being forced out of bounds down on the 10-yard line.
It's a play, Woody, that's very similar to what the Giants use. It's a delay pass to the tight end, which in this case would be Aaron Thomas, and he took it over the middle of the field, right in the middle of the field. And that's in any place, if you have a secondary that you're trying to prevent the long pass, that's where they're vulnerable. He hit it wide open, and you got to give him a lot of credit because there was Giants around him, but he put his hands on the football, caught it, and just ran with it. Now they're in great position.
Minnesota has turned this topsy-turvy football game into what could very well be an upset. It is 24-24. We have 30 seconds of playing time remaining in the contest. The Minnesota Vikings on the 10-yard line of the New York Giants. It is now 2nd and goal to go, really. 2nd and goal to go. There's a pass intended in the end zone, thrown out of bounds. So it stops the clock with 18 seconds of playing time remaining. So we have now a 3rd and goal to go situation. And 18 seconds of playing time remaining. Well, with excitement running rampant here in the broadcast booth, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, just seeming to flutter all over the place here. So if we fade in and out just a little bit, it's the result of a great deal of excitement and tension that has found its way out of the stands into our broadcast booth, Dick.
Right, Woody, I'm sorry, I'm the culprit, but I thought that ball was going to be intercepted.
Minnesota up at the line of scrimmage now. It is 3rd and goal to go. There's the snap from center, the carry by Osborne. Osborne is stopped at about the 6-yard line. We have 13 seconds of playing time remaining. Timeout on the field. Time enough to bring in Fred Cox to try for the field goal. And the ball is on the 5-yard line. And so the Minnesota Vikings will now try to win this football game with 13 seconds of playing time remaining. What a situation this has been. The Giants were out front at one time in this contest, 24-7. And the Vikings have come back tremendously in the second half. They scored a touchdown in the third quarter, 10 points in the final period. It's all tied up 24-24. The Vikings in possession of the football with a ball now on the Giants' 5.
Well, Woody, it's not a give. I'll tell you this. We've been complaining about the snapback from center. If it's as soft as it's been, the Giants have a great chance of blocking this.
Over the ball at center is Mike Tingeloff. There's the snap from center, the hold, the boot, and it is good. And so, the Minnesota Vikings now lead the New York Giants 27-24. Only 10 seconds of playing time remaining in this contest. What a comeback. 20 points in the second half has made it possible for the Vikings to come back in this football game and bring themselves to a point whereby it's just possible now that they have themselves an upset. Only 10 seconds of playing time remaining.
Well, you called it, Woody. It was an exciting change of events here for the Minnesota fans. The Giants have now but 10 seconds to get themselves on the scoreboard in any way. And one boy who can do it is Clarence Childs. If he gets away, now I anticipated that we were going to block the field goal, which we didn't do. It was an easy shot. They did get the ball up true and clear. There was no doubt about the kick. They just might kick a short one to keep the ball away from Clarence. But if he gets his hands on the football, believe me, Giant fans have seen him go all the way with it. And that's the last hope, the last flick of the flame for the New York Giants.
The ball is on the 40. Fred Cox makes his approach. There is the boot. It's a short kick that bounds and goes out of bounds over on the far side of the field on the 24-yard line. It was a short kick. They tried to keep it away from Clarence Childs. Childs is on the near side. They booted the ball over to the far side of the field to a position where Mike Fitzgerald would have it rather than Clarence Childs. It went out of bounds, and so now they will kick over from their own 35.
Right, Woody, and for our fans and our listeners, there's still 10 seconds on the clock. The ball is not put in play until a Giant touches the football. So that ball hit inside the 20-yard line, but rolled out of bounds before a Giant touched the football. So there's no time on the clock, no change. Now they're kicking from the 35-yard line. They'll have to get a real good kick now, no doubt about that. And still 10 seconds to go. If Clarence gets his hand on the ball, that'll be about the ball game.
There's the boot, and it's a long one. And it is taken by Fitzgerald on the 5. He gets away from one tackler, gets to the 20, gets to the 30, gets to the 35, and he is brought down on about the 38-yard line as there is now just 2 seconds remaining on the clock. Time only for one play.
And I won't be a prognosticator and say that they're going to throw the ball to Homer Jones, but I think there's going to be 11 players covering Homer Jones on this next play. But a boy to look out for in the same particular situation is Aaron Thomas. He has the ability to get deep. They have to keep their eyes on two men, Aaron Thomas and Homer Jones. 2 seconds left in this football game, and the Giants have to go for the touchdown, Woody. They cannot go for the field goal.
The day of the upset, New Orleans defeated Philadelphia this afternoon 31-24. And now the Minnesota Vikings are out front 27-24. As they move out of the huddle up to the line of scrimmage, a wide open offense. Homer Jones, Joe Morrison, a wide open defense. Fran Tarkenton looking for a receiver. He's going to throw long. The ball is knocked down, and that is the end of the football game. It was blocked by number 88, Alan Page. Alan Page, after he blocks the football, goes over to Fran Tarkenton, puts his arm around him. In on the play also Carl Eller. And they put their arm around Fran Tarkenton. Tarkenton goes over and congratulates the Minnesota Vikings. And a tremendous job they did here this afternoon. Welcome him they did. Take home a victory. Fran Tarkenton will not. As you know, he played for 6 years with these same Vikings, and the Vikings gave him a tough time of it this afternoon. An upset. The Minnesota Vikings beat the New York Giants 27-24.